coming live and direct to you, broadcasting from North Hollywood, California. My name is Gil, and this is the American Controller Podcast. And of course, I got my co-host Boo Bear in the house.
What's going on? How's everybody doing out there? All right.
Are you ready for this one, homeboy?
Yeah.
Are you mentally prepared?
No, not at all, bro.
Boo Boo almost ranked out on me today.
Yeah, I was like, damn.
He came in today, and he was like, "Hey, Gil, you gotta do this solo." I said, "What do you mean?" I said, and I'm like, "Dude, I'm not moving all these cameras around. Can we do solo? I put the camera over here, and then we had." I said, "No, fool." I said, "Stay here, enjoy the conversation, homeboy. Don't let this guy get you, homeboy." All right, man. So let's go ahead. This has been a long time waiting to have this guest come on. That's why I try to tell people patience is a key, man. Patience is a key because you gotta wait. So let me go ahead and introduce our next guest. Our next guest is an American rap legend. Actually is. Most of his lyrics focus on controversial issues in global politics. He is responsible for some of the most revolutionary rap music ever done with albums such as Revolutionary Volume 1, 2, Third World, The Martyr, and The Middle Passage. He is also responsible for one of the hardest rap tracks in history, Dance with the Devil. That's just banging, homeboy. Please give a warm welcome to the one and only Immortal Technique, homeboy.
Hey, that's right.
Thank you.
I
love it.
How we doing, brother?
I'm good, man.
I got one question.
I'm blessed.
I got my first fucking question.
What you got?
What's up with that shirt, man?
Shirt? Oh, this is a gift.
Oh, you didn't even know
This is a gift.
Dude.
This is a gift from the people that are organizing because of those communities that were destroyed in the making of Dodger Stadium. But we can find things like that all over the world.
Yeah.
Like in New York City, people forget that there was an all-black community called Seneca Village that was destroyed to build Central Park. Now, I love Central Park, but they specifically targeted that area because they wanted that black community destroyed and removed in the same way that they wanted that native community of indigenous people the hell out of that area. So they said, oh, we can take their land cheap.
And I didn't even know it was a displacement, but I know what it was. I thought, damn, that's why I said, damn, you wear the Dodger shirt?
Yeah. I was like, I seen it when it came in. I was like,
The
why you gotta bring up old shit for?
always.
Hey, brother, appreciate you for coming on.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that too.
It's been it's been a good chunk. People don't, like I said, people don't understand the patience it takes a lot of times. Because I can go back to my DMs, maybe a couple of years, nothing major. But you gotta be patient in the game, right?
No. I think for me, one of the good things that I consider when I do shows is the way that people approach me. Like if someone even has a problem with something I said or some issue, if they approach me humbly and they approach me, okay, hey, I wanted to talk to you about something, or I disagree with you about this, I'm more than willing to have that conversation. But I do not reward bad behavior. Some people in this room, we got kids. If your little kid takes his ice cream cone and throws it on the floor and calls his mother a bitch, you're not going to buy him another one, all right? Te sientas ahí en la esquina y le das un palmazo y no te habla por 2 o 3 minutos, okay? We don't reward negativity.
Right,
we reward love, and that's the good thing. So I focus on the people that are positive towards me and the people that want me, which is interesting because it leads to another point. That politics don't inherently come as right or left. Those people get in where they fit in, right? If there's a group of people who say, oh, well, we're not going to get the type of attention that we will from the Democratic Party or the so-called left, then we'll go to the right. And then there are people on the right that say, well, we're gun enthusiasts. These people are not, to say the least, right? But I think that what we've developed now is a country where people don't even have a shared history, right? Like there are still people who are praising Columbus because they think that's cool to be anti-woke. For the people that are like that at home, brothers and sisters, Columbus was the first thing that he did here when he was found on that island by Taino people is he started trafficking little girls, little indigenous girls on the island. Okay? Now, for all of you anti-woke folks, who the fuck does that sound like? Trafficking little children on an island. Isn't that the guy that you demonized for the past 5 years who deserves all the smoke in the world and deserves to have that list exposed? Well, Columbus's list is exposed, homie.
Mr. Epstein you're talking about.
Yeah, but I'm saying he was the Columbus of his time, huh? A disgusting slave trafficker. So I think that when we look at these themes in our country, for example, immigration, wonderful to open up the salvo with that because they're always pointed immigrants nowadays. And unfortunately, both sides have begun to do this and say, oh, you get everything for free. You get everything for free. And I always remind people to stand your ground, look at these people in the eye and say, do you know what the Dawes Act is, right? Do you know what the Housing Act is? Listen, if you don't know what these things are, Those American acts in the 1800s gave away millions of acres of Native American people's land. So if somebody got something for free, it was you, not us. And when we talk about aliens that helped build the pyramids, I did this to one of my friends when we went to Europe and we were in France. And I said, you know what? This beautiful cathedral, it's so complicated to build. I think that you guys probably had help from aliens. And he's like, why? That's insulting to the people that were here. I said, oh, you get it now, right? We moved rocks, right? We were just better at it than you. Don't be jealous. Get with the flow and realize that there was just different type of technology and science back then, and our people were innovators.
Let's talk a little bit about immigration. You're saying, and I feel kind of the same way. It's to me, I'm center. At least that's the way I identify, right? I don't identify as left, I don't identify as right. I pretty much say screw both parties because both parties are just kind of using us to fight one another. When it comes to immigration, how do we come about to actually making some kind of immigration reform with the party system that we have right now?
I think we have to go back to the history that revolves around this. For example, the Mexican repatriation of the first kind of stock market collapse that we had, what people call the Great Depression. During this time in the early 1900s, this country deported over 1 million Mexican Americans. So they have consistently looked at our people as kind of this sort of balancing block that they can just use as a political tool. However, you're right. When we started becoming more politicized and saying, oh, well, we're a voting bloc now, everyone took notice. As a matter of fact, Ronald Reagan was one of the first people that came out and said, no. He was very angry at the party because he said, you've exhausted the possibility that we have to have these people join the Republican Party. They're naturally conservative people. But that's not because they're quote unquote Latino or they're Mexican or Salvadorian or Peruvian. They're naturally conservative because the society that they grew up in, the Latin society, is a conservative, ultra-religious society. Right. These are the same people, some of them are even my relatives, that will tell me that the Spaniards saved us by colonization because they converted us to religion. Forcible conversion isn't saving. When you find God on your own, that's when you're saved, my brother. Not when somebody forces you to change your religion by burning other indigenous people in front of you. Some individuals don't realize how we got here from that place. So when we talk about, for example, the idea that we're immigrants, right? Yes. I think if you take away the I and you put just migrants, you'll realize that for thousands of years, indigenous people moved up and down what we call Central and North America now. And I think there was a large amount of communication between these indigenous people before. There are also tribes that were never conquered by the United States or the Aztecs. These individuals, like, for example, the Yaquis, people from the Comanche, these individuals represented such a power base in that area that they were never fully conquered. And yet somehow, through subterfuge, their land was taken. So remember, it leads to the most important point, that politics is an extension of war by another means. And that's why I think it's so important to be able to scale it. And I run into the same problem you do, because if I criticize Mr. Trump, who I see like a broken clock, he's only right twice a day. But then people start saying, oh, well, Technique, what are you, a Democrat now? And then when I go at Mr. Biden and I say, well, this dude is a clown and he's obviously lying, and he was the most right-wing figure in all of the Democratic Party for about 40 years. And now all of a sudden he's being rebranded as happy grandpa that doesn't know where he is. This man is a bigot. What are we talking about? And then people will be like, oh, what are you, a Trump supporter? Yeah. And I'm like, no, you don't seem to understand. Where's the camera? Mr. Obama made spineless liberals who never did anything for anybody feel like progressives, and Mr. Trump made stupid people feel smart. And if you're hurt by that, then a hit dog hollers.
Hey, but that is the world we live in right now. We live in a world that has much more division than we've ever had.
But they want simple answers, and I'm going to be honest with you. Even the fact that I just said that,
yeah,
both sides are going to be upset.
Yeah, but
they'll be like, oh, well, he doesn't, because I don't adhere to your cult. I'll be friends with anyone who has a different opinion than me. But what I don't like is when people try to convert me. Like, you've got no fucking swagger to educate anybody. You're going to come in here and tell me that okay, well, why don't you read this, and then we can have a conversation about the point of history that you're trying to make to me.
Now, let me be that guy.
Absolutely.
On the point of history. Some people will say, do the ends justify the means? and how you say some family members said that the Spaniards ended up helping us, the Americans. Some people say the Americans ended up helping us. All throughout the time in history, most of the tribes were warring with one another at one point or another. It wasn't like it was a kumbaya out here in Central and South America.
I appreciate that. You know why? Because every time I hear somebody, and there's been a lot of talk about Jewish people in the media.
Yes.
You never hear somebody say, hey, man, not all the people in the Holocaust that died were innocent. Why? Because it would feel like you were justifying the Holocaust.
Right.
That's what they do to our people with impunity. So if you want to talk about the difference between the way black people, Latino people, indigenous people, or white people, or Christian people, or Jewish or Muslim people are treated differently in the media, we can have a rational discussion about that is totally fact-based and not based on anti-Semitism or anger or rage or anything. Yes. And let's talk about it. So then why wouldn't you say something like that about people in the Holocaust who experienced the death of 6 million people? Because the only purpose to say that would be to justify what happened to them. And the only reason to bring up that a few tribes had problems with each other would be to justify the fact that they were brought order. Now, that's the primary part about colonialism that people don't seem to understand. It's not order. They're bringing a rigid, tiny system that's designed to destroy your culture, right? Make you forced to assimilate to a different form of being and identify with your slave master. Now, we can have a conversation about what that actually led to and what that means.
Yeah, let's do it.
But in Latino America, that became the casta. And for me, I think it's very important to have these conversations. In Peru, where I come from, the casta doesn't exist the way it does before, but the remnant of that system exists in all of us. It comes in the form of, ay, él tiene pelo malo, or mejorando la raza, for example. Let me break something down. When white people and black people would have a child back in the day, they would call it a mulatto. That is a racist term, and I'm going to explain why. It means the combination of a horse and a donkey, because mulatto is mula for mule. The combination of a horse and a donkey creates a mule, but a mule is born impotent. In other words, it can have no children. In other words, no good can come from the unification of black and white. And anyone that goes to film school can know that this is then seen in the theme of the tragic Negro in all of classical Hollywood cinema. What we have to recognize is that term also exists for our people. It's called mestizo, right? And we have way too many white mestizos that identify more with Spain and Spaniardness than they ever do with the actual brown that makes them any part of what they are. If you didn't have that in there, then you would look like the people from Spain who are blonde, blue-eyed, walking around like that. I think the recognition of this and the understanding that there is a path for so-called Latino people to whiteness that doesn't exist for black people, and I'll explain why. Because if you open the casta system, if a mestizo marries then a white person, they create what they call a castizo, right? A castizo then marries a white person, and there's less than 1/16 of indigenous blood. That person is considered white by law in the 1700s and 1800s in Latin America.
Say that one more time.
I'm telling you, the
break that one down one
castizo
time.
marries a white person or married a white person, and now I'm going to get the fools that say, oh, this is ancient history. Well, it's not, because in Latin America, Barack Obama and someone of that color is not considered black. You can ask my Dominican friends. They'll say, oh, no, he's trigueño. Oh, he's un indio oscuro. Right, because you want to be anything but the lowest thing on the casta system, which is an indio or a black person. And the reality is that keeping those two individuals fighting each other is the only way that Europeans gain supremacy in the New World. Without that, they wouldn't have it. And another thing that has to be said about America is when people say this is turning into a third world country, I want the audience, I want the kids at home, when you get bullied like that, you look those people right in the face and you say, well, without all the land and the free people and the labor that you stole, that's what you've always been, a backwater third world country. Because back in the days when the 13 colonies were around, that island of Haiti made more money for France than all the 13 colonies did for broke-ass England. England, another third world country. You're people of England. Oh, I'm a third world country because all of the immigrants. No, you've always been a third world country. Besides all the shit that you stole from India and Africa, you motherfuckers.
That's what
you got technique today.
That's
what
right.
you thought. You thought you was going to have Felipe. No. Technique showed up, bitch.
Are we a nation of immigrants, Tech, or not?
Well, we're an indigenous continent that was invaded by Europeans. This is what I'm talking about. The reality is that. And unfortunately, we don't have that discussion too often because this is now considered wokeness. No, it's not. That's just history. And if we want to talk about woke, that's trademarked by Snow the Product. Claudia could tap all your pockets if she really wanted to right now. Let's not play with each other here. Now people own that shit. I think it's important to bring these things up. But I think also one more interesting fact that this then brings up is how much our women get objectified and how we as men have always been on the outside looking in at our own women because they were all stolen. And I think that we as a Latino people, the so-called Latino people, are a product of a mass rape. And we have never properly dealt with that. And also, I have to say this because it's true. That's not just true in Latino America. That's here true in the Americas. The fact that marital rape was not made illegal until the 70s or 80s, I mean, that's crazy. That means a man that was married to a woman that's been separated for 20 years could break in, beat up his wife, rape her, and then there's no consequences. I came from a country where we had a military dictatorship. And I asked my father one day, man, how serious, how much control did the militares have in Peru? And he looked me right in the eye and he said, if a military officer was not just accused, that's a great stretch, but then went to court, even bigger stretch, convicted, biggest stretch of raping a woman, he could get out of it by agreeing to marry her.
Oh, wow.
So this is how our societies have been run. And if you look at the military dictatorships of Latin America, the vast majority have been, what they call white Latinos. And the people that have run those societies have traditionally been that. As a matter of fact, Peru, who's considered an indigenous country, way more per person, per percentage than most other Latin American countries. We just got our first indigenous president, Alejandro Toledo, back in the 1980s. And we've heard things from the past presidents in Peru that are way worse than what the LA City Council was saying. There were people, they were calling for the genocide of natives in the Amazons. They were sitting there, and through the Fujimori regime, they were literally having these programs of sterilization for the native women there. And I think that people just don't know about that. They think I'm exaggerating. And then when I bring this stuff up, they almost get upset as if they're like, oh, well, why are you bothering me with this information? And you know what I liken it to, Gil? I'm going to explain to you why it's hard to be a revolutionary. Because if I knocked on your door, homie, right? And I woke you up in 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, what's your first instinct going to be?
Oh, grab my gun.
Who the fuck are you?
Yeah.
Why are you in my house? Right? But if I shake your arm, homie, and I wake you up in the middle of the night and I say, whoa, your house is on fire, Holmes. Look up. And you see the whole roof is engulfed. I say, grab your hijita, grab your hijo, and get the fuck out the house. Grab abuelita and get out the door, homie. That's what it is to be a revolutionary, Holmes. You end up being in a position where you're just not loved for the negative news that you have to give people. And at the same time, you have to tell them that. You have to say, hey, man, grab your stuff. And I'm just going to close that segment by saying that one of my mentors, which was Harry Belafonte, he told me some of the realest shit in the world. He said that he was one of the sponsors for Martin Luther King Jr. Yep. He said he met him when he was 21, 22. He said when the man was 25, like right before he died, he leaned over to Harry and he had a tear in his eye and he said, what's wrong? And Martin Luther King Jr. looked at him and he said, I fear that I am integrating my people into a burning house. And that speaks volumes about where America is headed. I believe that we probably will have a civil war in the next few generations. But I also believe that the only winners of that civil war will be Russia and China, not the United States. Right. A fractured state will never be strong enough to beat anybody else.
Now, where do you stand as far as what we are? Because I hear you using the phrase Latino a lot.
Well, I think it's imperative to let people make that decision for themselves.
Great.
If somebody wants to be called Latinx, I'm not mad at that. But I don't identify with that because I say Latino is a phrase that was made up in the 1970s, right? Hispanic means you're from the island of Hispaniola. Latino means you speak a Latin-based language. That means je parle français très bien aussi. That means all the French people are Latino. That means Romanians are Latino. What we are is an indigenous people on this continent that were taught a Latin-based language, right? And I think that when we discuss what that kind of meeting actually was, we've been given this Pocahontas fairy tale that doesn't exist. The reality is there's a book called The Caste War of the Yucatan. People always ask me, what books can I read? The Caste War of the Yucatan is a beautiful but horribly heartbreaking book about colonization. And it also shows that the Mexican government itself was so desperate to get rid of the indigenous people on that part of the Yucatan that they almost offered it as a piece of the United States if the military would intervene and get them out. So it's not just white America we've been against. We've been fighting against our own governments for the longest time. And that's the reality. It's not like they're on our side and the Americans are against us. It's almost like we have no allies. So I'm here to tell people it doesn't matter what you identify as. If you want to say, okay, well, I use Latinx because I have, I identify differently as gender-wise. I say, well, okay, indigenous people have something called a two-spirited individual, right? That means that you literally identify as something else that you're not. But the reality is when people are mad at that, I ask them, where does that originate from? Where do you think the legal basis for it comes? And I say, okay, well, a corporation wanted to become a human being and they went to court because they wanted the rights as a human being. They wanted the tax code, but they wanted to keep the rights of a human being. The people who were fighting on the opposing side, said to the corporations, well, if you want to be classified as a human being, are you a man or a woman? And the corporation looked right back at them and said, I'm a non-binary entity, and I will take all of these rights and all this humanity. Really? So while you're mad at a couple of kids that are going through some confusion in life, remember, they're not the ones that tapped your pockets for billions of dollars, motherfucker, okay?
Now let's talk a little bit about that with the corporates and all that.
Fucking talk to me.
You were making you made your first million at what age? let's get into it. Come on now.
All right. I guess I became wealthy at around 27 years old.
27 years old.
27.
But you could have been much more wealthier.
I got offered.
Talk to me about. There you go, baby.
I got offered a lot of deals, man. And I'll be real with you. The problem was that they all wanted to sign me as an artist, and they didn't want to sign me as a company, and that was the main issue.
Which means what?
I think to individuals that are coming in the game, they have to understand that an artist is literally at the mercy of the label because they're getting a record deal is a loan with horrible interest rates, right? If you buy a house, for example, once you're done paying off the house, that's your house. Mm-hmm. If you release a record through somebody, once you're done paying them back, they still own the intellectual property. Mm-hmm. What's the point of that? Right? Some people would argue and say, well, wait a minute. That's also true in America because even if you pay off the house, you still have to pay the property taxes and then it's never really yours. Unless, of course, you're a foundation or a corporation. Right. And then there are people that don't pay taxes in that way. And I think that's incredibly important to talk about because the whole purpose of them existing as an entity is that they don't have to pay. And if you look at, for example, people angry at socialism in this country, what they're not really is angry. They're more envious that corporations who don't deserve that kind of help from the government get bailouts for $800 billion to keep a business going. And the people who lost their home during the pandemic and lost their job, they didn't get any bailouts. They didn't get any free PPP loans. They got that. The scamsters all got picked up, right? But none of the scamming billionaire companies got picked up. So I think in people's minds, they have no faith in the system anymore. And I think that's the most dangerous thing that will lead us into a civil war because empires don't fall because they lose a war or two. Where's the camera again? We haven't won a war since World War II, huh? Korea, nope. Vietnam, nope. That thing in Panama doesn't count. Come on now, Iraq. We ended up having to support ISIS against Assad there. Wait. ISIS and Al-Qaeda, the people that blew up the World Trade Center, we ended up supporting, just so people understand during the Obama era, the war criminal shit that went on there. This is why I can't support that. Because while we were in Syria fighting Assad, we supported parts of Al-Qaeda. That's the part that trips me out. And when you look back at that and you say, okay, well, can we apply this to what people are saying now? In modern society, yeah, but it hurts people too. And I think the question becomes larger. If someone says, well, I don't like participation trophies, are you wearing a Vietnam veteran hat? Because you certainly didn't win that war, my brother. No disrespect to the veterans.
Don't be taking shots at the vets. Homeboy, they're going to come after you.
But now, hold on. If the vets are going to come after me for something real. What about the deported vets, huh?
That's horrible.
What about the people? What about the, hold on. I got a page for y'all. I need y'all to listen to this. I have brothers of mine, brothers of mine, straight heart. They don't got papers that say they're an American citizen, but they got papers that say they're a United States Marine and that they fought a combat mission in Iraq and Afghanistan. When they came home, the lies that have been told about these people, they're not getting kicked out of this country because they raped or murdered anybody. They're getting kicked out for the smallest, most petty, disgusting offenses, and it's the most offensive thing in the world. And I think anybody that would lean to the right or be pro-military on your show would not say, okay, I'm going to just sneak around this issue. No, bitch. Face that shit. Eat your fucking food, right? Come tu plato, que está servido enfrente de ti, right? Are people who fought for this country, who have really no beef with anybody that we've gone to war with, because those people were not responsible for 9/11 in Iraq. And the people in Afghanistan, well, he wasn't even in the country. He was in Pakistan. Yeah. So what the hell are you blowing this shit up? Is it just because Afghanistan is conveniently on the border of China and we want to depress them for a little while by putting 250,000 people right next door? When's the last time that China or Russia put anybody near us? I'll tell you when. In 1950s, when we almost had a nuclear war. That's what happens when people get close to America, homie.
Yeah, of course.
So when we play that game with other people, now we find out, okay, we want to encroach. We want to impose our will. We always wanted a war in the Ukraine. And that's unfortunate to see that, the misery that's going on with those people. So when you talk about political pawns, I can look at our people and say, yeah, we're being used, but we're certainly not the only ones, brother. And it's sad because they use the same tactics on us that they do on other people.
Absolutely.
Divide and conquer, right? Get the religious extremists to fight against people who have questions about that, right? Then get the people who are far left to far right to center to never find commonality. But the truth is that when you look at this country, you have to deal with one issue if we're talking about right or left politics, and that's 9/11. Because after 9/11, we have what they call the 9/11 effect, Gil, which is when all politics move to the right, which means that people who were in the center after 9/11 were considered left. Why? Because they weren't kill, right? And I don't forgive Republicans for that. Right? They hide behind Trump's skirt now and act like they're anti-war, but you people rubbed your pussy to dead children for 15 fucking years in Iraq and Afghanistan. 1 million people dead in Iraq, right? 300,000 people dead in Afghanistan. During those drone strikes, half of the bombs that dropped killed kids.
Absolutely. And that's why when I also say the same point when I say about people talking about abortions, I said the same thing I heard you say in an interview, that look how many kids we kill in America as far as the war machine. But that was both the left and the right. The left also voted for that war. It was both. When Obama was in office, Obama was dropping bombs everywhere.
But I think we have to make a distinction there. There is no real left in this country. The people that belong to the Democratic Party, for example, Joe Biden. If someone tells me or tries to convince me that Joe Biden is a communist, I lose kind of interest in the conversation. I'm like, this guy, the infrastructure bill, the bill that he had for $1.2 billion had less than 1% for infrastructure. Yeah, that's a real fucking Joseph Stalin there. No, this guy, if you try to convince me that he has Alzheimer's and he doesn't know where he is, I'm all aboard with you.
Yeah, I think.
But if you're telling me that he's literally like fucking Mao Zedong, I think that you have a problem, and you fell down. You know what? You didn't take the red pill from the Matrix. You took the red pill from fucking Total Recall, homie. All right? That's the problem. So I think we can talk about these things because there should be space for our culture. There should be space for people who have traditional values. We're not trying to destroy that. What we're trying to do is amplify the reason that we have those things.
I believe that both parties completely use us.
Yes.
When it comes to the veterans that are being deported, some for sale, some for this. To me, no veteran should be deported unless it's like some rape or some way out charge like that. Then I'm like, yeah, all day long. But
not for paperwork, homie.
No, not for paperwork.
For drug addiction?
Not for
where,
drugs.
Where he didn't steal or hurt anybody? They just caught him with some shit?
That's just a lot of stuff that all veterans go through.
All veterans, exactly,
So to me, but until we come together as a collective, it's not going to change because the politicians just kind of, they hear us a lot of times, a couple, like let's say you're talking your shit, you're doing your stuff, but unfortunately most Latinos don't want to get involved, homie. They just don't.
I think what's interesting, we started talking about this before we got into it. When you bring up politicians, we can jump right into that LA City Council thing.
For sure.
Because I think what that exemplified wasn't just a position of brown versus black. I think it unearthed something even uglier in the reality of the huge divide in the so-called Latino community between more, and I won't even call them white Latinos because they were brown and they identify with whiteness, and they're sitting here not just talking about black people, but they're speaking incredibly disrespectful about a Oaxacan community that feeds this city, right? Those people are some of the most hardworking and beautiful people in the world. And it exemplifies the fact that there is an ingrained hatred towards that part of our culture and our people in this society. And people will do anything to not have a conversation about that.
I think you're right to a certain extent on it. I think it was good that at least Nuri came down. She's gone. The other two haven't stepped down. I think De Leon, he's saying he's not gonna step down, and the other guy Gil, I think he's after November he's gone anyways.
He's trying to ride it out.
But this is the issue I got. To me, I made a video and I said, yeah, they should all go. All right.
You brought up Mayor London Breed too.
That's where I'm going with that. I like to put the feet to the fire because I don't really get offended by words that much. I push that because they're politicians. They've been pushing a certain narrative, so I'm pushing it back. So and people are saying, Gil, you're being racist. I said, wait a minute. When a mayor of a major city of San Francisco tells her people doing an interview the reason she has a fentanyl problem and she first tries to tap dance around it, well, we all know who's doing it. We all know the nationality of the people. And then finally, it's the Hondurans. They're the ones that are doing the fentanyl problem. I'm like, whoa. So it's not racial profiling. So to me, it would be this. Okay, I'm watching the news. I'm seeing all the smash and grabs. I'm seeing all the robberies. It's the blacks. They should be able to get pulled over. If somebody said that, there'd be riots in the streets.
But I think the problem that we have with even bringing that example up is that when you take it out of the black and brown and you put it on a bigger scale, right? Like robberies and stuff, that's small change. What about, for example, welfare? Where everybody says, oh, it's y'all peoples. It's the immigrants that get welfare. It's the black people. No. White people have benefited the most from the welfare system. Let's talk about something else. Affirmative action. Affirmative action has not helped black or Latino people as much as it's helped white women. Do you understand that? For the people that want to look up those statistics and feel bad about themselves, you're welcome to do that. The library's free, motherfucker. The other thing that I'll say is the one thing that I would think would be different about those two situations is this. Mayor London Breed's comments were disgusting, but they were relegated to one group of so-called Latino people in Honduras.
I'm from Honduras, homeboy. I took offense to it.
No. But I appreciate that. The problem that I think that is building in this is that when she said that, she attacked one group of people, whereas the LA City Council not just attacked black people, but they also attacked indigenous people, which exemplifies the kind of power structure state that white Latino people have had in Latin America. Because one thing that I'll tell you, brother, is the only way, like I say before, and I'm going to keep saying this, the only way that they've kept power is by having these two factions opposed. When you hear things like the Buffalo Soldiers, the only reason they were there is to be a shield and take spears and arrows that were meant for white soldiers. And they were more than happy to put them on the front lines there. They're more than happy to put our people on the front lines fighting other people. The reality and the difficulty that I have in this is we don't have these conversations about why people are coming here. One huge thing that individuals missed was this thing called the Fast and Furious program that came out during Obama's era.
Right, with the guns.
They put all these little tracers and guns and sold them in mass. And let me just say something else. This was military surplus from the post 9/11 world. So we're talking about 50 cals. We're talking about fucking rocket launchers. We're talking about shit that people use to just kill other people. This is not AR-15 time, all right? That is not a weapon of war. That is a fucking hunting rifle. There's a difference between that and an M60. So I think that when people recognize what are they running from, homie? Where are they coming from? La diferencia es esta. In Latinoamérica and Centroamérica, it's not like here where you go and find a gang to join. No, homie, they come and knock on your door and say, your son is coming with us. He's going to be in the gang. And if you have a problem with that, then you have to move out of the neighborhood. Esa es la diferencia. And I think both of those people and both of their comments need to be utterly condemned. I think the only difference is that one of them insulted one group of people, whereas the other one insulted two different groups of people and also exposed the hierarchy that exists in our society.
I believe this. I believe that if Nuri and the other two politicians would have just strictly talked about Oaxacans, they would have never been removed. I believe because they hit two major points. They hit the LGBTQ, which was the men of the kid, and they hit the child, just a black kid. So those are the two most sensitive groups that have power in America right now. If the tables were turned and the mayor of London was a white person saying that against an African American, they'd be done. Politically, they'd be done. The problem is with us Latinos, we take too much heat and we don't push back.
But it depends where. See, I think this is what we have to understand based on SF,
but
right?
San Francisco,
but I'm saying, if we go to another place like Alabama, you'll have no comment. They're like, oh yeah, well that's what he's supposed to say. You know what I mean? I think.
But we're in Frisco, so we're talking about California rules.
But let's talk about California rules. When America was desegregated, that's when we really started to see some of the charter schools and the private schools that don't have to adhere to that. So some of these people have never integrated, and besides, integration was not so much about integrating brown and black people into white society. It was about integrating black and brown dollars into white corporations.
That's right.
They wanted black people to stop having stores of their own and communities of their own, and they wanted our people to stop having your own carniceria. No, he shouldn't be going to there. He should be coming to our Walmart. He shouldn't be going to Paco's Bodega. He should be coming to fucking Kmart to buy our shit. And I think that's in where we don't understand where our actual political and economic power is.
We'll finish the council thing right now. Should the mayor of San Francisco be forced to resign?
I think she should definitely face a referendum from her people. I think that should be their decision to make.
We are her people.
But no, I'm saying the people of San Francisco, the people of LA told her to get the fuck out, and they came out en masse. If the people of San Francisco really want her gone, then they have to have a referendum. If I personally think that a person that makes that kind of vast generalization, they need to be G-checked, and they need to have somebody in front of their office and say, wait a minute. What are the facts? Where did you get these statistics? Where are they from? You can't just make a blanket apology and step to the side.
That's what I'm saying.
You have to say, okay, where did you get these statistics from? Where is it that you exactly found this? Because if you want to have a conversation about that, then what we get, unfortunately, is way too much of an oversimplification, right? Now, that's another problem that I have with kind of the way people structure their arguments politically. It's like they want to make a certain point without trying to seem bigoted. So they'll walk a line where they're trying to antagonize people, but you're not making your point. If you want to make a point, you don't make a point by intentionally trying to harm people. You make a point by offering them wisdom and criticism of their ideas, and then saying, well, this is the reason why I feel this way. This is why this should happen. And also it's related to history in this specific way. Right. I think not enough people have the patience to have those discussions though, because they require something much deeper than a simple, hey, you did wrong. You got to get the fuck out of here. That's a simple solution to things.
Hey, you never told me about not selling out, homeboy.
Oh, no, I never wanted to sign to those big companies because honestly, they control way too much of what you say. And also, they have the power to shut you down.
Was there anybody that told you, man, you're crazy, you should sign?
I got offered a lot of money.
I'm sure. That's what I'm saying. I'm sure,
stupid money. I had some of the biggest people come after me for stuff, but I think that for me, I wanted to just be 100%. And now, right now, I'm more independent than I even am because I went totally solo. So now it's Rebel Army Records, Rebel Army Runs, and Immortal Technique. And that's it. And then, of course, I got all of the homies with me. All of the familia, all of my peoples. I got all my masters, all my publishing, all my syncopation rights. I think those are incredibly important to understand because the intellectual property is the future. It is what people own. And I think without understanding that, we're really walking in blind.
So before I ask you some more hip hop questions,
sure.
I gotta get in the thing that I saw a lot of people upset at you.
Some people were upset about we talked about
I saw a lot of people upset about you. Because I think I don't know. I got to first figure out what you believe in as far as I believe the Afrocentric.
Olmecs.
The Olmecs. Olmecs being, I think, African-American and all that stuff. So go through the history of what you believe.
No. I will say, I want to give a shout out and RIP to one of the great teachers that I had, which was Native American activist Russell Means. I have a deep respect, and I want to say rest in peace and big shout out to his son, Natani Means. This is one of the people that put me under the wing and said, hey, man, I want to educate you to this. Or, hey, do you realize that Ivan Van Sertima wasn't really a doctor? He didn't have a doctorate in anthropology or in any of these things. This was a person who decided to take a bunch of facts that were not related and then put them together. So just to clarify where we are right now with this, I want to say something before I talk about this.
I haven't started my.
No. I got you. I already covered the base.
Okay, good.
The Olmecs are indigenous, but I want to say, so where's the camera? The Olmecs are indigenous, but I want to talk to the community that was angry at me specifically. Do any of you know what a Jaredite is? Nope. The Jaredite is what the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints calls the Olmecs. And they believe that the tribes of Israel, which were white, showed up here to the Americas in 2 BC, right? They believe that Jesus came here in 1200 AD. Wait. The Mormons, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
The Mormons are different.
Right. So what I have to say is this. They believe that two groups of people formed, right? Lamanites and the Nephites. They believe that our people are the Lamanites, and because we were evil and betrayed God, they painted us brown and copper-skinned. How much money did the gross national product of all of these black organizations make, right? Not even over $1 million. They make less than BLM stole from people. How much did the LDS, how much did the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, who rewrote the history of Jaredites and Olmecs, how much did they make? In February of 2021, they reported they were worth over $100 billion. So when you guys come at me, it's not that I think you're racist because you don't want no smoke with white people and you want all the smoke with black people. No, you're more like a racist lifeguard. Right? You are supposed to take care of the pool. On this side of the pool, you got black kids that are jumping in the pool, splashing around, running around, doing things they shouldn't do. But on this side of the pool, you got white people sniffing coke, fucking in the pool, doing all kinds of extra shit, and they got a big budget. And you scared as death to these people because I haven't seen one post about a Jaredite on most of y'all pages. So y'all got all the smoke for the little homies, right? You got all the smoke for the people that are easy to fight, but you don't got no smoke for motherfuckers that got way more money than you, right? I was taught when I was a kid that if you fight someone your size and you win, it's expected. But if you knock a motherfucker out twice your size, it's respected. That's the difference. I don't consider this a step up. I consider this a step 2. I consider this an opportunity to come tell you to your face that if you don't have a Jaredite on your page, then you've been fighting with poor black people your whole life because you scared to fight with rich white people. You scared to step up to the people that are literally rewriting history with a $100 billion budget, but you think the biggest threat to you is an anonymous profile with some bullshit on there? Don't fuck with me, homie. Yes, the Olmecs are indigenous. And yes, you're a sellout. And yes, you're a coward. And yes, please come see me and have a conversation with me. I don't mean come see me like come fight me because that's stupid. I'm saying come see me and have a conversation with me because I'm an open book, motherfucker. Because you don't need nothing but time, patience, and respect to have a conversation with me. I am not an asshole unless you rub me the wrong way. And I love my people. And I want us to understand and to come together. And I believe the only way that we will survive is by not killing each other. That's it. We just have to not kill it. It's that simple, bro.
It's that simple, but it's so hard.
And we also have to realize, hermanos, raza, the Rico is coming for all of you. All of you. It's already come to New York, papi. It's swept up so many of my brothers. People who have nothing to do with this shit. People who got out the game years ago. You ain't never leaving. You in the books, homie. They coming for you. Like all other things, man, we have to evolve or we will become extinct. And I will say this, I took a great journey in that. And the people who taught me that with experience. So they said, well, wait a minute. What are this other idea that the Olmecs were part of the Kush empire that came here? They just put their arm around my shoulder with love. And they taught me something that will stick with me for the rest of my life, that you can teach anything to anybody with love and patience. But the only thing you're going to teach with hatred is hatred. You're going to teach people how to hate you back. That's it. So the individuals who came with me and educated me to these principles and said, no, these are the things. There was never any stone tools, metal tools, or anything left by. However, here's an interesting thing. If Eric the Red and the Viking her came here in the year 1000, and they were the least evolved civilization, we don't know what the real history of the world is. That's the one part that I'm very, very confused and concerned by. Because when we talk about the slave trade, I don't think that people really recognize the exact origins. They say, oh, it's Europeans. The first slave ship was called the Good Ship Jesus of Lubeck. While that may be true, you're talking about the 14 and 1500s. No, you have to go back to the 7th century AD when the Vikinger were the first people to start the transatlantic slave trade. They used to steal women because back in the day you could color your hair, but you couldn't color your eyes. So the Arab lords who ran a slave market in Cairo said, we will pay a woman's weight in silver for red hair and green or blue eyes. And these Vikinger used to go up to the coast of Scotland and Ireland. This is a true story. Look it up. And they used to come down. I love when people please disagree and figure it out for yourself. And they used to steal these women and take their boats down the coast, selling them in what they call the Cordovan Caliphate, which was what Spain was before it then broke off to the principalities of Granada and then reinvaded by the Reconquista. But before then, they would follow that course, take the Strait of Gibraltar, and then come by North Africa to the slave market where they sold these women. I think we have to have conversations about the real history of things. And I think that me coming to a much older Native American activist, someone who wasn't just learning this and felt the need to overcompensate by attacking people, taught me this with love and said, no, brother, I want to educate you about something that's even deeper and will build you a stronger bond with our people because you are Peruvian.
Let me jump in here real quick. I think the issue that a lot of Native Americans have, they feel like you're attacking them. They feel like when somebody's saying, and I know you didn't say it, but that's pretty much you're saying that the Olmecs were African American.
No, I just said they're not.
They're not.
I just said that. I just said they're indigenous.
Yeah, but some people say that. I don't know if that's.
I literally just. Wait.
But some people say black people are the indigenous. I just want to make sure. I want to get that
clear.
I want to make that clear.
Gil, let's get this clear now.
Get this clear.
How many more times do I need to say it?
One more time.
All right. For the people watching at home, the Olmecs are indigenous. The reality that we have to face is that if you have smoke for them and you have none for the Jaredites, then you, my brother, are a coward.
Okay, I'm down with that.
Papi, eres un cobarde. Do you want me to say it in another language too? I got a lot of them.
French,
I hope. Vous êtes un cochon.
There you go, boy.
I think the important thing is that I never feel pressed about these things because they've never happened in public. It's always been individuals that have. And not just that. I'm talking about in any scenario for people approaching me.
Yes.
It's never been in public. It's always been online.
Right.
But the beautiful thing is I've found more and more that if I'm willing to engage with people, and believe me, brother, I've been to almost every reservation that's in this country, most of them. I've been to a lot of them. I have never had somebody come up to me and be like, you hate us. Never, brother. Look at me, brother. Look at me in my eye. Never. Not with the Sioux, not with the Crow, not with the Narragansett, not with any of my brothers. Never. Because when they approach me, I shake their hand like this. And when they ask me any questions about it, I'll say what I learned. I'll say what I relearned. I'll say what I had a conversation with. And in that case, they realize, man, I've really been hating this dude for a whole reason that doesn't exist. So if you still don't like me after this show, do me a favor. Pick another reason not to like me. Tell me I'm too cocky. Tell me he's not as smart as he thinks he is. Right. But don't try to hit me with that because there's no Jaredite on your page. And now you're going to put a post up. You're going to put a post up about the Jaredites. You're going to put a post up about me talking about the Jaredites. And then you're going to try to clean up why the fuck it ain't on your page. Why ain't it on there? And it's because, again, either in the street, we assume malice. At home, we assume ignorance, right?
Yes.
When you're with your kids and they do something wrong, you don't assume that they did it to try and hurt you and fucking kill you. You assume that they did it out of ignorance. Yes. If somebody runs up on you on the street, it's not ignorant. It's malice. Yes, so I'm going to be real with you, Papi. When I talk to these individuals, I had somebody hit me up about just that fact and just that issue right before I came on your show. He actually has like 3,000 or 4,000 people that follow him, a block profile dude, hit me up and said, yo, I really would like to hear you talk about that specific subject. And I said, I absolutely will. And I also want to clarify about the Jaredites. And I hope people are Googling them right now and asking them why you have no smoke for $100 billion entity. Like, I get it. If you had a line of people and you had to pick one to fight, Well, of course you want to pick the smallest one, even though the biggest one raped your family, right? But you don't want to fight them. You don't want to fight them. And we don't want to have a conversation about how the Mormon church actually got here.
Oh, yeah.
I know Mormons, and they may be the nicest people in the world, but they are their origin is genocidal in terms of how it functioned in this society. And I think it's important to never let go of that fact. The fact that they want us fighting against black and brown. They want us at each other's necks, because the only way to fight the poor is to hire one half to go kill the other half. And that has been the strategy of this society since it started. You have never, ever, ever had anything as powerful as the unity of people running away from a bad situation that find unity with each other, right? The Seminoles refused to give back those people that ran away from slavery. And let me clear something up. This country never stole slaves from anywhere. They took free people and put them through a process of dehumanization to turn them into that. The same thing happened to our people, and that's how we became Catholic. Do you understand that? They would burn people in front of other people and force conversions. That's why we are what we are. That's not why we're saved, right? If you're saved, it's because you found Christ or you found somebody else on your own. And just for the Christians that take it to heart, before I say this, let me honestly say that I believe, even though I'm a student of all religions, I believe that if we really did live our lives by the teachings of Jesus Christ, this would be a better world. But unfortunately, people have taken his word and used it for their own advantage. And they also have used it to violate, to rape, to rob. And also, most important, the reason why they were able to do this is because indigenous and African people were not considered human beings when they were when people experienced that colonial reality. Because if you look at Spain, right, medieval Spain, what's the punishment for raping a woman? You know what it was in like 1490? It was gelding. You know what gelding is? That's when they take two hot pincers and they take your dick and balls off root and stem, and you start pissing out a hole like them motherfuckers that fought for the Dragon Queen in Game of Thrones, okay? That you become a eunuch. That's the punishment. If you murdered somebody in medieval Spain, you know what the punishment was? An eye for an eye. You got to hang. But when it came to our people, there was no punishment because the legal basis for us was not even there. We were not even considered human beings. And by keeping these individuals apart from each other and not united, which is another part about colonial history that we have to bring up. Piracy, the idea of pirates. Everybody thinks pirates were these disaffected white people from England. No, a lot of pirates were escaped slaves. They were other escaped indigenous people that wanted off their chacra, off their plantation, off la encomienda. We didn't want that system. That is a system of imperialism. That is the conservatism that was evolved into what it is now. Our people didn't live a liberal lifestyle, but what they did live was something closer to God than we live now. And we don't have to call that liberal, but it certainly was progressive, and it certainly wasn't the conservative shit show that it is now. It was people that found collectiveness. But let me speak on that. Collectiveness is something that we have to humbly embrace. But I always tell my Marxist friends this. While I appreciate some of the sentiments in that book, you can't tell me that a guy from Europe from the 1850s came to the dark jungles of Latin America and Africa and explained to us the complex concept of sharing. We knew what that was for thousands of years, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, the problem with the right and left is the right tries to dictate while the left tries to co-opt too many times. And that is something that is incredibly important. The BLM movement was co-opted by Democrats because it is a real movement in the sense that it's necessary to discuss why police feel more comfortable killing certain people than they do others. But if you're going to then take that movement and co-opt it and turn it into something else, well, nobody asked for murals. The people that I knew in New York that were getting brutalized and beat up by cops, dude, I've had cops put a gun to my face. I've had them put a gun to my neck for things like literally running a light or by making an illegal U-turn. I'll tell you, one of my first experiences was when I was 13 years old. I walked out of a train station on 86th Street on the 1 train. I had a cop pull a gun to my head. He hit me in the back of the leg and said, "Where's the gun? Where's the gun?" I put my hands, I'm a 14-year-old kid, mind you. I said, "Yo, I don't have a gun, sir. I have no gun." I was just taught to just be polite and put your hands up. I said, "I have no gun." These guys with the gun like this 14 years old. Then they tapped my pockets everywhere. They found no gun. They literally just walked off and got in the car. That is traumatic for children, okay?
Absolutely.
I'm sorry. I'm going to have beef with y'all cops for a long time. I believe that y'all are the biggest gang in this city, right? You're the biggest gang in this state. Not norteños, not sureños, you. You the biggest gang because you get away with murder every day. And too many people could walk into a sneaker store and find a boot to lick when it comes to 5-0. And that's my problem with a lot of our people, right? They're the power structure, right?
Tell me how you really feel. Tell me how you really feel.
I'll tell you how I really feel. When Americans read the Bible, they're confused because they think they're the Hebrews. You're not. You're the Romans.
Man.
Eat your food, motherfucker.
So let's talk. Well, we could always.
We covered a lot of shit.
Yeah, we covered.
We can end the night. We can take some callers in here.
No.
Take some callers. Hey, take some callers.
You want to take some callers? Right, let's do it. If
Fucking
not,
callers.
I was gonna let Tony do the halftime show real quick.
Oh, we got Tony Doughboy in the building. Hold on. We got the legendary. Listen, this brother is a personal inspiration to me. When I was in prison, bro, listen, I had two people's hip hop quotables on my fucking cell. Big Pun and this man right here, Chino XL.
Oh, that's right. That's
so
right.
I'm sitting in there. I'm like, yo, son. Play it again. Yo, son, I swear to God, I won a cassette player.
Let the phone go
in a game of CeeLo.
Maybe.
And when I was locked up, they had the purple tape.
Give me
Here
a
to
second,
Save
Javi.
You
Give me a
All,
second, Javi.
and then 2 other tapes. That was the only tapes they had in there. So definitely,
Javi,
I've
you
been
there?
bumping shit.
All right, go ahead, let him through. Credible Javier, what's going on, brother? Talk to us.
Man, much love. Hey, Immortal Technique, been following you for a while. Much love, G.
Thank you, Javi. ¿Cómo
wanted-
estás?
I wanted to see if you can break down the link between the School of the Americas, all of the genocides and the civil wars in Central America, and the MS and other gang problems in LA, and then the deportation back there, and how it all goes together.
Okay, well, you put a lot of things in there, and they are connected, but there is a string of connections. For example, what he brought up first was called the School of the Americas. For those people that don't know what that is, it's an academy that used to exist in Fort Benning, Georgia. And what they did was that they would take military officers from Latin America and train them in like counterinsurgency and tactics, propaganda, or maybe like it is in America, propaganda. But whatever it may be, they enforced the power structure, right? And so they were then sent back to Latin America to become vessels of what America's agenda would be there. In other words, they didn't care about the politics. They didn't care what system you had. Oh, we're going to send you to a communist country. We'll send you to, it doesn't matter. The America was playing chess back then in a way that, let's say, Vladimir Putin is now. Right, like Vladimir Putin, he's a chess player.
Yes.
Look, in Europe, he supports far right movements. Marine Le Pen, that pig in Hungary, and a series of other far right movements. But in Latin America, he doesn't support Bolsonaro. He supports who? Cuba, Nicaragua, Venezuela.
The dictators.
So there's a lot of dictators. I mean, let's not get that twisted. There's a lot of dictators. Some of them might be in a capitalist country. The only difference is, I think when there is a capitalist country, we blame the regime, not the economic system. But capitalism has actually failed more times than communism. As a matter of fact, it's failed in this country twice because we needed those bailouts. Yeah. Otherwise, the banking system would have totally collapsed. Not once, not twice, not 3 times, 4 times, ladies and gentlemen. The banking system would have collapsed 4 times under this perfect fucking system that is literally a Ponzi scheme that was invented in England in the 14th century.
Oh, thank you guys, man.
Good night, Javi.
That's right.
Night.
But I'd rather have a capitalist system than a communist system.
I mean, I think what the difference is that if you look at how it's structured, it's still what they call oligarchy. And there's a guy, Robert Michaels. I think you would love the book. As a matter of fact, I'm going to find a copy. I'm going to have it sent to you, Gil. Okay. It's called Political Parties. And there's one beautiful chapter, and it talks about the iron law of oligarchy. And it says it doesn't matter if it's a capitalist or a communist system. Eventually, all political and economic systems boil down to the iron law of oligarchy. Oligarchy means the rule of the few for the young people that are listening at home. For the young people that are listening at home, oligarchy means the rule of the few. So in a communist system where they had then the Politburo and the party, that's the rule of the few. In America's capitalist system, we don't have a democracy, a representative, a republic. So you have 400 members of Congress, 100 members of the Senate, and then 7 major giant corporations. Those are the people that rule. That is effectively an oligarchy because you've been given nice things that shine and have flashing lights doesn't mean that you have freedom. I think that's what we have to understand. But I think it is important to note that in this country, we do have a First Amendment. But the First Amendment, I think people get it confused. That has nothing to do with other businesses. It means you can't just be arrested for what you said. But it doesn't mean that other people don't have the right to shut your shit down. And I'll explain why. If you, Gil, and me open up a pizza shop together, right?
Right.
And some dude we hire to work for him. And one day he's like, you know what? I decided to wear a swastika on my shirt. Yeah. I'm like, well, wait a minute. You can't do that. I don't back that up. You don't back that up. But it's his freedom of speech to do that. However, we know that that person is literally going to drive people away from the pizzeria by doing this. It's our perspective to have the right to get rid of that person because their speech can infringe on ours. And if people didn't have that right, Gil, then McDonald's would just send people to Burger King to go put on a swastika shirt so they could ruin their business. All right? People thought about this for a long time. They're not taking away your freedom of speech. What they're doing is saying, no, this is a capitalist entity. This is ours. This is not yours.
Talk to us real quick. Caller.
Yo, this is Jag Arriola. What up, Tech?
You high? Are you high, man?
Arriola, Cosmic Force.
Oh, shit. What up, homie?
There it is, homeboy.
El Jaguar.
It was good. Yo. Jaguar, I'm here, homie. Hey, I just want to say that Native Pride, Indigenous Pride all day. Shout out to Immortal Technique. Shout out to the big homie Chino Estelle. We fuck with you guys all day, all the way.
Oh, man, you hear that? Indigenous Pride all day. I love y'all, brother. There we go. Thank you, brother. I appreciate y'all coming out.
You guys stay up, man. Have a good night, homie.
Thank you, man, and I hope you caught everything I said about all of the stuff from like the past 20 minutes. The way we discussed the Javardites and the Olmecs. I appreciate my indigenous brothers and sisters coming in and giving me a chance to clarify that for y'all. I also want to definitely.
Hell yeah, we've been fucking with you, bro.
That's right.
We've been fucking with you all the time. I'm already knowing, bro. It's all love.
Love you, man. Thank you, my brother.
You guys have a good evening. I'm gonna stay up. Peace.
All right, so we're gonna take a small break, but during the small break, come on up here, Tony.
Tony Doughboy, this is my dude,
Tony.
man. This is my dude.
It was special request, homeboy. Special request. Yeah. All right, so here we go. You said acapella, right? Yeah. All right. Get that money, homie. That's good. Let's get in here.
Just jump right into it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. All right, check. What's split of 16? We good?
Yeah. We good.
Yeah.
You good?
All right, cool. All right, check. Yeah. A funky beat, you know I wreck it. I'm rapping for my section, Orange County, that's a place on my progression. No misdirection, I'm rhyming for your protection from the system and corrections that they often want us left in. Hey, yo, check it, I'm rhyming with an agenda. Fuck the self-destruction, let's talk about the corruption. Set us up for failure, our justice being obstructed. Less of us is greater, they hating our reproduction. They gon' hate it, but I'ma keep on going. Knowledge amongst my peers, I'ma keep on showing. 40s for dead homies, I ain't trying to keep pouring. Trying to keep them alive, keep them growing and glowing. Yeah, time for us to grow, united we stand. Trying to make our own dollars, not eat off of the hands of those who ain't trying to see us succeed. It's money, power, and knowledge what these communities need. Yeah.
Give it up for the young man, man. Give it up for the young man. Stay right here. How you been, bro? Yeah. Last time I see you was in 2020. Boy, how you been? What you been up to?
Yeah, bro, the last time was 2020.
Yeah, 2020 when you came on the show,
2020.
Right? Hell yeah. If you guys haven't seen it, go back. That's right. That's right. What you been doing since?
Man, just keep doing my thing, doing my music.
Yeah,
keep grinding, keep working. I putting out projects, music videos, all that. Right now, I've just been releasing some singles.
Okay, well, like what kind of singles? What do you got out there right now? What'd you release? Damn, everybody left.
Right now, I got 2 singles out. One called City Player with the music video.
Okay.
And then another one I just dropped called On the Regular.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You been on any features or anything like that or not?
Not really, bro. I haven't been really working or collaborating with anybody else at the moment. Not just because I don't want to, just because I've been focusing on my own projects right now. I just started working with the homie Wizzo. He's a producer. He's actually from the same city as I am, from Santana.
Okay.
And he was actually Nipsey Hussle's main engineer and producer for like 6 years. Well, not main producer, but like main engineer for like 6 years. And he produced a lot of tracks on the couple of his albums.
Okay. Damn, so what you about the homie right here, man? How long have you known him for?
Immortal?
Yeah, hell yeah.
This is actually my second time like being with him. But we've been chopping it up, or we've been knowing about each other. Well, he's been knowing about me, I should say.
Yeah.
For like about a year and a half.
How'd you meet him? How do you get? He just tapped in with you or what?
So I did this track called Cultura, where I talk about like the people, you know, like the raza.
Yeah.
I do mention a lot about like I'm Mexican American, so
That's
I do talk a lot about Mexican, but I do mention a lot of indigenous because I know the roots, you know, I know where we come from.
Of course.
And I did that track, and it honestly like it got me a lot of attention on me, you know.
Yeah.
And there's a page called Brown Issues, and they posted the video, and I seen they like a lot of people were tagging Immortal and stuff, and Immortal just tapped in, bro. He just since he seen that post, he showed mad love.
Showed mad love to you.
He followed me. He followed me and he hit me up on IG. We chopped it up.
Yeah.
And then we had been chopping it up for a while, and then he asked me for my number one time, and I shot it to him. And that he didn't call me that day. He didn't call me the next day. He didn't call me for like maybe like a week or two.
Yeah.
I didn't expect that. I mean, just the simple fact that he tapped in and he showed love, like that to me was it, you know? And then one time I'm in the studio and it's like 11 p.m. Yeah, it's like 11 p.m. I'm in the studio and I get a phone call, bro, but it's like an unknown number.
Yeah, who answers those, right?
Yeah, it was like 11 p.m. I'm in the studio and it's an unknown number and I'm like, I'm not gonna pick it up, bro. But I thought about it. I was like, I don't know what was in me. I was like, I just answered it.
Yeah.
And I answered. He's like, yo, it's Tech. And I'm like, whoa, shit, I didn't expect that.
Blew your mind, huh?
Yeah, we chopped it out probably for like an hour and a half, almost 2 hours.
Yeah, that's
we
like
chopped
a first
it up.
date right there, homie.
Yeah, we chopped it up. And then I first met him at his recent show that he had out here in LA at what's that venue called?
Where was
Catch
it?
One.
Catch One.
Yeah,
That's right.
Catch One.
Catch One. That was dope.
Yeah, he just did a show out here at Catch One. He hit me up, pull up, and that's when I first met him.
Hey, that's right.
Chris,
Yeah.
fix the camera.
Fix these cameras real quick. Put everybody back on.
Thank you.
Damn, homie, you go deep, dog. That's real deep shit right
Deeper
there.
than
Like,
Atlantis,
you
homeboy.
just-
Listen, brother. I think the best thing that we could do, if you can't give the kids what you didn't have growing up, the better thing you could do is teach them what you didn't know growing up, right? You got to teach them, hey, man, you got to have paciencia with things. Like, I think a lot of people don't realize that, like, as a parent, you realize that our parents didn't do everything perfectly right.
Oh, of course
The way
not.
that un ejemplo. If you went, I pointed this out to my folks and to my tias and tios. I was like, yo, imagine you were in a restaurant and one of the waiters dropped a plate. Would you smack him in the face for that?
Of course not.
And it's like, but somebody got smacked in the face for that, right? And it's like, yeah. I think one of the things that we misunderstand in our culture is the need for grandparents too. Like, who teaches the father how to be a father? ¿Quién le enseña a la mamá cómo ser mamá? The grandparents, los abuelos, are very much a necessity in our comunidad. And I think the reason is because they're going to tell you, hey, one day you're going to hit this kid or you're going to scream at him. And it's not because he did something wrong. Es porque tú no tienes la paciencia para hablarle. And that doesn't make you the worst person in the world. It makes you a human being. But you have to be mature enough to be able to apologize to your own kids when you do something wrong, because that gives them respect for you more than you could possibly imagine.
Yeah.
You're not weak for apologizing. You're weak for apologizing for shit you don't need to apologize. But if you fuck up, homie, and you don't, then you're just being stubborn for no reason.
Yeah, straight up.
Are we live?
We've been live.
Oh, shit. I thought we were off the clock. I was about to really wild out. Imagine that.
All right.
No. I think that's important. That's why, I'll be honest, I appreciate you bringing it up, because we started a food program in New York City. It's a 501c3. It's called the Rebel Army Runs. And we did it because we based it off the Black Panther Breakfast Party program, but we did it for seniors. And it's mostly black and brown people in line.
Yeah.
But there's white people in the projects too. Yo le doy una señora que blanquita. And poverty is not based on color homes. And I tell people all the time, in New York is a dirty secret.
Yeah.
Those projects weren't built for black and brown people. Those projects were built for immigrants from Europe. Okay, that's what you need to understand. Every time you guys come to New York, next time you guys are there, I'll drive you around, show you all the projects that are there, the places that we go and deliver this food. Those projects were made for Eastern European immigrants that were moving here during the Ellis Island age. You know, that's the other shit that people think about immigration. Ellis Island didn't open up in 1776. Ellis Island opened up in 1899, which means that if you're talking about, oh, my families, we're real Americans, we were here since 1822. No. Then you wasn't here legally because you didn't come here with any papers in 1899. You a land stealer, right? Go holler at the Dawes Act, at the Homestead Act, where you got millions of acres.
Now I want you to bring up the history on your shirt.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I know a lot of people don't really know the history of Dodger Stadium. I mean, I've heard 2 different stories on it, you know, just searching on YouTube and stuff like that. But
there was a sister that approached me and said, yo, I want to tell you a story. And I was like, what's up? She was like, do you know what happened at Dodger Stadium? They just had a banner outside my show. And I had never this was a few years ago. And I never heard the story. But like I told Gil, if people approach me like nicely and, hey, man, I want to teach you about this, then I love to go, man. You know, Gil invited me on the show politely.
Yeah.
You don't fucking give me no guilt trip about coming on here. I wouldn't fucking be here, right? We don't reward bad behavior. Those people came to me with love and they said, hey, I want to teach you something. Just like you said, hey, man, give me the platform. Let's talk about real shit, but let's exchange ideas with love and understanding. So I said, okay, I know nothing about this. Teach me. And they said, well, there used to be 2 or 3 indigenous communities that were mostly people that were there, and they decided to target them because they knew they could take their land easily. One thing I'm going to bring up that's interesting, though, is that in this country, we have what they call eminent domain, where they can do that, they can take it. But in other countries, that's what leads to revolution and rebellion. In Colombia and in Venezuela, they would just take people's land and they wouldn't give them any money. It would literally be, hey, we're going to build a thing here. Move your shit. And then people would be like, but we've been living here for 30 years. And they said, I don't care. And they would displace them and throw them out. So that's what contributed to the beginning of what they call that Colombian movement of the FARC. And what's interesting is that when I went to Colombia, I actually interviewed the FARC. They put a bag over my head. Oh, shit. And they drove me into the jungle. It's in like the extras of my old DVD.
Yeah.
But there are parts of it that weren't in the DVD. These people put a fucking bag over my homes and they drove me through the jungle, through all kinds of shit that I'm like, I heard howler monkeys, fucking jaguares, shit that I was like, what the fuck, where am I? I show up to like a compound. I'm in the room. They're mad motherfuckers. I was like, oh shit. And I come in and there's just one guy. And he's like, you can ask me anything you want to. First question. Isn't selling cocaine a betrayal of the revolutionary ideals that are the ones that you started with?
Oh, shit.
This is why I love them. He was ready like a motherfucker. And he looked me right in the eye and said, yes, this is true. But unfortunately, we can't fund a revolution with bake sales and hip hop shows. And I said, I love this man. Let's keep going. And I said, well, then how did this start? How did the kidnapping start? And he said, originally, these were people that were linked to the CIA. But then, unfortunately, it got so out of control that they would just grab anybody rich. And so it became a class thing. And unfortunately, that's what we've been living under, because in Colombia, you have to understand that it was such a system that was so dominated by the rich white upper class that that's why we have the Panama Canal. In the late 1800s, they came to Colombia and they said, we want to build a Colombian canal. And Colombia as a country said no. So the United States wisely went to the northern part of Colombia where the vast majority of Afro-Colombianos lived. And they said, hey, aren't you tired of being ruled by these Blanquito devils? Wouldn't you want a country of your own? We'll give it to you. We'll call it Panama. But you know what? We need that canal. And that's the price of your freedom. And that's how the country of Panama came about. And I love my people from Panama. I'm not saying anything denigrating about them. I'm saying that the United States wanted that canal so badly that they were willing to manipulate and use people and push them ones against the other.
Yeah.
So it's just a part of our history, Holmes, and I'm willing to learn.
Before I forget, I need you to talk to me a little bit about your song "Dance with the Devil." Oh boy, people would kill me if I didn't ask that question. Okay. Man. Talk to me about where the whole thing, where it came from. You know how it came about, man. 'Cause that's a powerful ass song.
I think that one thing I'm going to say, and people ask me all the time, is the story real? Is it real? If you come to Harlem, I can take you to the building where it happened. Now, obviously, I changed certain things in the story. I never raped a woman. I've never killed a woman, thrown her off a building. But I needed to take parts of the true story. The reason why nobody has ever come after me about it is because the people that were involved all started dying one by one. One of them got hit by a car. Another one got killed because he got beef with other people, and they killed his son to make him come to the funeral, and then they killed him. Listen, Holmes, revenge is a forest, right? You think you going out in one way and coming out the other. No, you're not. They killed him and they killed his son. Then another person went to jail, and he happened to not make it because, hey, man, homie, sometimes you go to jail, you get in an argument with the wrong fool, and you're getting picked apart in that line. Sometimes you got a lot of heart, Holmes. Maybe too much. They be knocking on your door. You coming out today, homie? Yeah, that's just jail, man. And unfortunately, you know, being a formerly incarcerated youth, I saw a lot of crazy violence, and I just based a lot of the shit that I saw in there on that type of reality. And I think that when I did it, I wanted to also make a comment about how we live in a society where I believe people have been desensitized to rape, and we're too soft on child molesters. And I feel like those people don't deserve. If you're looking for sympathy, you better look between R and T in the dictionary, bro. Those people have to be, in my mind, can't be reintegrated into society like that. You know what I mean? I think they can't be coddled by the system. Their sickness is something that is potentially destructive to the human race. And I feel like what I saw being incarcerated and then coming out, trying to get a job, this is the era in which I had started writing Dance with the Devil. And it took about, I want to say, a year. It's one of the longest songs that I've taken time. Like, I'll give you another one. I have a song that some of my fans may know, Caught in the Hustle. I have another song called Bin Laden. I wrote these in a day. I wrote Bin Laden in one day. I wrote Caught in the Hustle in an afternoon. It took me 1 year to write Dance with the Devil. I kept writing something and then no, not this. No, take this back. I knew what the ending was going to be because I know how the story ends, but I had to make it right. This word has to go right. This has to be there. It has to be perfect. I had to change this. I had to change that. I had to find the right beat. You know what I mean? Rest in peace to my man Ben Holloway and my brother Greg, who not Greg is still alive, but rest in peace to my man Ben Holloway. Him and Greg were the ones that believed in me. 44 Caliber Productions, and they actually made the beat for Dance with the Devil.
So you had it written first, and then you got the beat.
Then I got the beat.
So it was a perfect beat for that.
The perfect beat. Listen, it fit. So it fit the tempo. It fit everything. And I'm gonna be real. The reason why it was done that way is because most of the songs from Revolutionary Volume 1 were actually written while I was incarcerated. So I was in the hole, and there was a Native American cat called Judge, and he snapped a pencil in half, and he slipped me a piece of paper under the door, and he goes, yo, write down your story. Write down anything. People go crazy in there talking to themselves. He said, write it down, write some rhymes, write poems, write anything, bro. Every day he would bring me a piece of paper. And the reason he did it is because I totally embarrassed this white arsonist that pissed him off. I G'd him for like 12 soups because I pretended I couldn't play chess. And on the low, I'm a chess champion. I went to the nationals as a kid 4 times. I got trophies in my house and everything, bro. As a matter of fact, I'm a big proponent of our children and our people learning chess because I think that there are a lot of right moves that you can make, but only one of them gets you what you want. Just like math, there's a lot of answers to the question, but there's one that fits you better than all the rest of them. Also, just like the game of chess, Gil, you could play a perfect game and you make one wrong move and the game is over chess. And you lose your queen, brother. Yeah. Or you lose the bishop, or the king is in check and the king is in checkmate. And sometimes you think you winning the game and then you can't see yourself getting checkmated, brother. You got to keep your eyes on all the pieces of the board. That's why I love chess. And I say to all the youth, please teach your children something about strategy, right? It's fine. You want to let them play video games? That's fine. I don't have no problem with video games. I make music for video games. Come on, brother. Battlefield, Call of Duty, they've all come to me with a bag for a song. But I tell people, man, teach your kids some board games. You know what I mean? Play with them. You know what I mean? And what we were saying before, if you can't give them what you didn't have in life, homie, teach them what you didn't know at your age, man. You know, the school don't prepare you to do nothing. They don't teach you entrepreneurship. And to be honest, the American system of entrepreneurship is a mess, Holmes. You know why? Because these people learn a lemonade stand. And that's fake capitalism. Why? Because it exemplifies the fake capitalism that exists in the United States. Big corporations, what do they get? Subsidies from the government. Socialism, right? They get gigantic tax breaks. Okay, here's the lemonade stand. Well, Joshua, who bought the pitcher? Not you. It was mommy. Who pays the water bill in your house? Crystal, is it you or is it mommy? Who bought the lemons? Is it you or is it mommy? Hey, little kids, who sliced those lemons up for you? Is it you or is it mommy? Who brought the sugar, bitch? Was it you or was it mommy? Who put it out there? Who put the table in front of the house? Do you own the house, bitch? No, it's mommy's house. Therefore, the lemonade stand is a perfect metaphor for how fucked up American capitalism is. You motherfuckers think you have a business. No, you're all on welfare. Do you understand that? And if you didn't, then COVID must have exposed that for you. Because all you people that thought you were worth all this money realized in COVID, wow, capitalists and communists are right by this one thing that Marx and Adam Smith both agree that there are only two real classes. There's none of this middle class. That's a fantasy that was invented in America. There are the people that own the means of production and the workers, right? And in Latin America, knowing the difference between a capitalist and a communist is very easy. If you have an industry like a mine or a plantation, and you believe that the people who work the land and the people that have been there for thousands of years should get the majority of what they get, you're called a communist. And if you believe that the people of foreign corporations who come here and pilfer the land and take whatever they want from those mines and give those people dirt, and that's the way it should be because that's just business, then you're considered a capitalist. You don't have to call yourself what you are. Your religion is not what you profess. Your religion is what you do. You can say you are a martial arts expert, but unless you get in the octagon and prove it, then you are not that.
Man, oh man, you're killing him, oh boy. Let me go back to a little bit of music. Do you believe that hip hop, especially gangster rap, is like I guess part of destroying the youth? Do you think it helps the youth, or do you think it actually hinders the youth? Gangster rap, hip hop.
I think it depends on what era we're talking about. I think if we talk about the early era of hip hop,
let's talk right now, not before. Right
now. But I want to just include that. I'll get to that. Okay, good. But I think it's important to point out the difference in the eras because I think the OGs that I learned from, right, whether it be Ice-T, Ice Cube, Schoolie D, right? Schoolie D, for those who don't know, is actually the person who birthed gangster rap. This is a brother from Philly. He had a joint called Gangsta Boogie. We talk about like 1981. So Schoolie D invented what they call modern gangster rap. But keep it real, Ice-T explained that in the very beginning, gangster rap was called reality rap. That it just rapped about what reality was, and therefore it as a hip hop game changed to the point where they said, okay, we're going to introduce commercialism, so we want to co-opt what reality rap is. We would like to take what you do, because if you listen to an album like OG from Ice-T, where he's talking about the gun tower, all this crazy 6 a.m, all this stuff that we love. That is actually giving people game in some weird way. There are gems in that song, as opposed to what I say is the co-option of gangster rap, to take all the gems and the knowledge out of the music and just have gratuitous violence. That is the difference between a horror movie and a snuff porno.
Gotcha.
For those people who don't know what a snuff porno is at home, that's when they actually kill a woman during filming the porn. It's illegal. So that's the criticism that I'm making. It's the fact that they've taken all of the jewels out of the rap. And I'm not saying every single artist, because I know some modern kids that do that gangster shit, but include the knowledge or include something that's a jewel.
Young
if
Jeezy.
if at least you're willing to say, hey man, after everything that I was in, I realized how much of a bad decision this was.
Right.
Or you know what? One time I shot at an op and I accidentally hit a kid. Like, dude, do you realize that when you go out, you're not always gonna get the people that you want? And also, it don't matter if the person that you killed is 40s. Everybody is somebody's kid. And they
Yes.
coming back for you, homie. That is a cycle that is so destructive to our community. But I believe in my heart of hearts that originally gangster rap had a purpose and had more soul than it does now. And unfortunately, the jewels and the knowledge that it used to pass, the kind of point of view that says, hey, I'm talking about this shit, but I'm talking about it so you don't have to go through it and don't
schooling you a little
live
bit
it.
there.
Right? Like Dance with the Devil. It's not glorifying
Yeah.
rape. It's not saying, hey, although I'm going to keep it real, Gil, the reason that song was so impactful is part of the reason was in the very beginning, people used to hit me up angry. Like, yo, did you really rape her? Like, dude, this, you ask Chino, you ask all the brothers I'll be with. People still to this day will come up to me like, I don't even know why you're talking. You raped and killed a woman in
I need to throw her off
1999.
the roof.
I'm telling you right now,
Really?
bro. There's still people out there who think that that's a true story.
Well, that portion of the story is true. That's what they
But
believe.
that's the one thing, you know what? You brought up an excellent point. That only exists in hip hop, right? No one's going up to Al Pacino like, hey, Tony, how many keys do you have? Hey, Tony, I need some keys, man. What's up, bah? Now I know you got out of business with Frank, so can you front me some keys? No, because they know it's a fucking movie. We're the only ones that are expected to stay in character for fucking 24 hours a day.
So are you saying that these gangster rappers that are talking about all these bodies and all that, they're not really doing it?
Well, I would say this. The underground, because people love to talk about the commercial world of gangster rap.
Right.
But that's not actually the gangsters that we're discussing. The gangsters that we're discussing are those underground cats, those cats that live out where there be Santa Ana or East Los, those guys that are trying to come up that are under the main guys, that give them that credibility. The underground has always been gangster. When you talk about the backpackers in New York, they had guns in the backpack, motherfucker. They had nightsticks in the backpack. These people would run in store. The whole flash mob thing, that shit started like in Harlem. Niggas would come down to like the fucking 14th Street and bum rush the Polo store with like 50 motherfuckers and leave it looking like a supermarket in Russia in 1982. It was crazy, son. Like, I've been a part of some shit that you don't even want to know, bro. We used to go mobbing out in New York. You have no idea. That's why when I hear people say dumb shit like, dude, it's just like 1980. I was like, what?
Yeah, they don't
No, there's way more
Yes.
people smoking crack on the train back then. Now people are just shooting up in the corner minding their business. Before they were smoking crack in front of you, asking you what time the fucking DuckTales came on. I'm like, yo, man, get the fuck out of here, bro.
Hey, so Fat Joe got a little heat for saying, and I don't believe it's rightfully so, for saying that obviously the brothers were the originators of hip hop, but the Latinos were there too at the beginning. You're from that area. What's your take on it?
I think it's complicated because if you're talking about Caribbean Latinos, then you're talking about people that are black but speak Spanish.
Okay.
Right? You're talking about people that have way more of an African American influence than many other Latin American countries. So in some ways, is that true or is it not? Also, there is an interesting point that was brought up about how people saying hip hop was brought here in 1973 by Kool Herc. And I think while that's true, there also is a lineage of rap that exists inside this country that predates 1973. You can find lots of artists from the 40s and 50s that are chatting and rapping. And these are black American artists that have never gotten their due. And also things that come from hip hop, like for example, the shout out, right? That is something that genuinely comes from jazz. Hip hop is in the lineage of black American music. It descends from the blues. Country music descends from the blues. Why? Because it's just the blues for white people. They just telling you how fucked up they life are. Right? That's real shit, bro. The corridas, it's the blues. It's the blues, homie. We talking about what's going on in the fuck. So I think, yes, there's a lineage that would predate the hip-hop era from 1973. And also it's a much more complicated issue because many of those so-called Latino people happen to be, but like, for example, Paul Mooney had this messed up joke that he would be like, oh, Puerto Ricans and Dominicans, y'all ain't nothing but niggas that know how to swim. And he would come at people very hard, but he would hit people super hard because he'd be like, you're in denial of your culture.
Great.
And dude, you have to understand, I grew up in between Harlem and Washington Heights. So I had a lot of friends that were Dominican. bro, some of these people, their mom and dad would be the blackest person on the planet, and they be such in denial. It's like, no, you don't understand. I don't, my God, but they'd be offended, and I'd be like, Papi, look in the mirror, homie. My brother, I'm gonna take you to downtown Harlem where they don't speak Spanish, right? Because New York being a diverse city on some liberal shit, that's a lie. We were a segregated city for dumb long. This motherfucker knows. Listen, there were neighborhoods where if you were black and brown, you don't go in there. Yeah, you scared of brothers, right? You scared of brothers? No, you've never been scared until you've been chased out of a neighborhood by 50 Italian kids waving stickball bats with a dead cat's head on one. Yeah, motherfuckers is crazy, bro. Dude, Albania. Yo, I used to have beef with an Albanian gang. Now I don't.
Albanian,
love to my people from Albania. Shout out to Albania. But yo, I used to have beef with an Albanian gang in New York. It was super segregated, brother.
How were the gangs of New York? No pun intended, but how were the gangs in New York?
I mean, I think that what people don't understand about how that structure came is that it was an evolution.
Okay.
Right? Like, for example, when people would say to me, oh, those aren't real Bloods because they're in New York, and I'd be like, does that mean those aren't real Latin Kings because they're not in Chicago? Come on now, homie. They go everywhere. Hey, man, I got cousins. They're Sureño. They live in Virginia and Maryland. Yeah. Come on, bro. What are we talking about? They're not in Anaheim.
Right.
Come on, man. So I think in that case, you have to understand the evolution of where it came. A lot of the people who were Bloods were originally something called 5%ers. And for those people at home that don't know what that is, it was a small splinter of an Islamic movement. But what they believed was that 85% of the world was mentally deaf, dumb, and blind. 10% of them were devils that kept them that way. And there were only 5% of people who were righteous, who were trying to wake someone up, who would break into people's houses and tell them that the roof was on fire. And they expected no love from that. But I think that, when you're talking about New York and the gang structure, I remember when it was more crews. That's what it was when I was a kid. And it basically is like, do you remember the movie The Warriors?
Of course. Come out and play.
It was very much structured like that, but without like the fanfare, people wearing skates and paint. No, you would go through a neighborhood and they would be like, nah, this is our neighborhood, Holmes. Why the fuck are you here? Right? And they'd be like, damn, man. But again, if you knew someone from the block or you knew people, you could navigate anywhere. But there was a time in New York where you would just not think about going straight to somewhere, bro. You would be like, hey, I have to. And also in New York, the gangs used to have what they call a spider trap, which is where they would have like 50 people in front of the projects, and one of them would purposefully say something to you. And you better not come into projects and not look at them. If you don't look at them, they gonna know you scared. To this day, brother, this is how I roll in life. I don't care who you are. If I walk in the room and you walk in the room with me, I'm looking at you right in the eye. I'm gonna know, and you're gonna know that I saw you and that I respect you and that you respect me. Right. You're also gonna know that I see your face. And I remember your face. Yes, sir. And I don't like sitting there with I never sit with my back to the door. My great-grandfather got shot that way. Thank God he survived, but you know what I mean? I always tell people, my abuelita used to say that, mi papá le dispararon cuando tenía la espalda a la puerta. No, mira, mi abuelita tiene 95 años. Shout out abuelita Teresa. I love
She's still going. God bless her.
She smacked me on the head. She's like, nunca con la espalda a la puerta. ¿Qué te pasa?
That's the abuelita.
That's not my abuelita. Right? That's my abuelita.
Yeah,
that's my abuelita.
Hey, give me one thing that you love about Southern California. Give me one thing that you hate about it. But when you say you hate about it, not traffic. Give me something else.
Come on. Let me see. Okay, what do I love about it? I love the people. And that's because my family became part of those people when they came here. A big chunk of my family broke off when we came here from Peru, and they didn't come to the East Coast. They actually came to the West Coast. So 3 of my tias and 2 of my tios came here. And the vast majority of them, except one, married Mexicans. So it kind of opened me up to the culture when I was super young. Okay. So I've been coming out here since my grandma moved to Inglewood in 1984. Man. So we've been coming out here ever since. So I remember being a kid and coming out here and being like, oh, wow, this is so different. And man, girls is hitting on me. Like back in New York, it's like, who the fuck? Get away from me. And out here, girls are like, You got a nice ass, Holmes. I'm like, oh, okay. So I've always felt the love. I think also it's great because we always joke with each other about whose food is better, Peruvians or Mexicans. We always, listen, our pyramids are always nicer. Come on now. Nazca.
They were built by aliens, folks.
Yeah. Listen, if the aliens helped us, I don't know what they did for American society, right? You people were in a horse and buggy 100 years ago. Now you got lasers on Mars. We just built a castle made out of rocks. Them aliens helped you motherfuckers, not us, huh?
All right, now what do you hate?
What do I hate? I hate the fact that racial divisions are much more deeper here. On the East Coast, there's much less of that. There's a much more unity. There's much more realization of the crab in the barrel mentality. There's much more of a recognition of that. People come together as voting blocks. People come together to say, no, we're going to stand as one community. I think that I would like to see more of that. I want to see blue and red stop killing each other. I want to see people recognize the reality that this is based on a very old beef, and this is a lot of prison stuff, and this is now killing kids that are coming out of high school and junior high. And I also want to tell people and warn them, listen, just because a little kid is little or he has an Edgar haircut doesn't mean that he won't smoke you, bro.
Yep.
You got to respect the youth when you talk to them, right? Like those kids, they might be wearing a purse, but there's a gun in that purse, right? Some of the kids, they might have tight-ass jeans, but they got a little blade stuck in the back. I remember this about being young. Nobody respects a kid when he says, don't touch me, don't hit me, don't do that to me, don't touch me there. But everybody respects someone, doesn't matter if you're 10 or 50, who pulls out a weapon and says, if you ever fucking touch me again, I'll fucking kill you. Everyone's forced to respect that. And in that one moment, the child has learned the wrong lesson, Gil.
Yes.
He thinks the weapon makes him powerful. Yeah. And I repeat this to everybody. It's not the weapon that makes him powerful. It's the voice that makes you powerful. Because the weapon can only affect that one person in front of you. But if you use your voice to tell people what happened to you and this, it will encourage other people to tell what happened to them. It will encourage other kids to speak up for themselves. It will encourage other people to confront the individuals that did something to them and say, no, you won't get away with it. You will be accountable. You will have your fucking day. That's what I like. I like us being able to use our voice, and I encourage people. I don't say, oh, don't complain. But I say, just remember that every time you open your mouth to complain, you inform everybody in the room that you're not the one in charge. Instead of simply complaining, what we need to do is organize, right? And listen, I say it all the time. Un imbécil con un plan siempre va a derrotar un genio que no tiene plan. A moron with a plan, 9 times out of 10 will beat a genius with no plan. We need a plan, ladies and gentlemen. If you out there right now, get yourself a plan for the next year, a plan for the next month. Hey, man, if you don't want to do that, that's too much. Start with a plan for the week and work from there. Say what you want to get done in that week. Talk about a goal that you want to reach, because that's what I did when I came out of prison. I said, no, I got a goal to reach. How about this? I'm not smoking or drinking for the next 2 years until I get my shit together. I can't afford it right now. I got to get my shit right. Boom. And there I was.
Yeah, connect to Chris real quick.
Oh,
So
more callers?
I'm glad it took away the traffic being what you hate about Southern California. So I got a much deeper answer from you.
Call from
Alex.
Let me see what we got. Sorry, Alex.
Are we going to give some stuff away?
Yeah. Caller. Yeah, we got to get that shirt. Talk to me. Let's see.
What's up? How's it going?
Talk to us, homeboy. What you got, Juan?
Oh, it's Javier.
Oh, Javier. What's going on, Javier?
Nothing much. Just chilling over here in Downey.
Hey,
yo, Tech.
Javi, ¿qué pasa?
Fuck, man. Glad you're on the show, brother.
Thank you, Javier. Mucho gusto.
Glad you're on the show. I got a quick question. Actually, I have to. Actually, just one really important question.
Sure.
We all know that the majority of Latinos, so-called Latinos, you like to use that term Latino, we're mostly indigenous.
We use both terms on the show, yeah.
would you say that it's more important for us to kind of, and this kind of gets into something different, but wouldn't it be best for us to claim more of our indigenous side? This is one of the reasons why a lot of people, especially, actually, more importantly, Hollywood doesn't hire us because they see us as outsiders, immigrants, right? They can't tell our stories because we're not American, so-called American.
But we are, right? Americans. We are the original Americans. This is the Americas. The United States of America is a country, right? But I think what was the question again? You said you want.
Yeah, you gotta get to the question, buddy. You tap dancing over here.
That's my point. Do you think it'd be better for us as a people to claim more instead of calling ourselves Latino, Hispanic, which seems more like an outsider thing? Because people still see it second-class citizens when we say that, especially because of our last names. Right. Oh, it's all Spanish instead of English. Do you think it's more important to claim our indigenous side?
I think it's very important. I think somebody should do that based on what they're ready to do. You know what I mean? I think when you look, anything that you try to force on people is going to become ugly because either they're not going to be ready to receive it or they're not going to know how to practice it well. It's like when people pray for things, right? Hobby, when they pray for a blessing, they shouldn't be praying for the blessing. They should be telling God they're ready to receive the responsibility of that blessing. If they pray for a healthy son or a daughter when they're going to have a baby, they should be saying, Dios, I'm ready to accept the responsibility of this blessing that you're going to give me. That's how I pray. And I'm ready to accept the responsibility of what it means to get more in touch with the native ancestry that I have. My people are called Tawantisuyu. I come from a long line of indigenous people. My grandmother descends from the line of Chauca, which is a group of generals that broke off from the Incan Empire after the Ollantay escapade. But I think, yes, to give you the short answer to your question, it is very important for us to become more in touch with that. And I think everybody at their own pace. I think sure, people can start by reading things, but also people can start by simply participating in their community, by becoming more of a part of everything that I see. I think when you come to like presidential politics, that's very, very wide scale. But if you're talking about local politics, school board stuff, curriculum, things that need to be discussed, things that need to be talked about, we can keep that.
Caller, who's this?
What's up, Big Gil? It's Unhouse Mike.
Oh, here we go. What's up, Unhouse Mike? Let him through. Talk to us, homeboy.
No, see him just tapping in. Hey, I got a question or two for Technique.
You got one, homeboy. You got one. Let's get it in.
All right, I'm just gonna throw that song out there, bro. The point of no return. When you said you put a Al Aqsa. If I'm saying it correctly.
Yes, sir.
If you could talk about that, and
sure.
then one more thing on the same song, when it said the humans are killing monkeys to conquer the planet, okay. And then I'll get off road and just explain.
Sure.
All right, bro. Appreciate it.
Cool. Thank you.
The Al Aqsa Mosque is built on top of a church that was built on top of the Temple of Solomon. The Temple of Solomon was built by Hiram Abiff, who was the person who invented what people look at as modern masonry, right? Modern masons, whatever it may be. But at the time, this was literally the most advanced form of technology that people had. And it's rumored that the Ark of the Covenant and several other artifacts were hidden there, or rather ancient technology that was used by a pre-Neolithic society. Now, whether that's true or not, what that leads us to is the second part of your question. Now, human beings, right? Humans came out of Africa, people believe, around 300 AD, and they ran into a lot of other so-called hominid species. But if you look at the other hominid species that human beings mated with, you'll find Homo agrastor, Homo habilis, Homo erectus. We still mated with some of these species, and we also exterminated many of them. And that means that these species, although they were still in the hominid family, remember, only two hominids had a speech gene, right? That is Homo sapiens sapien, which is who we are, and what they call Homo neanderthalis, which is a Neanderthal. Neanderthals actually had a speech gene. They were able to speak. And as a matter of fact, my brother, I want to break down something even iller to you. Human beings didn't invent music. we invented what they call composition, which is the rewriting and the writing down of that exact song. If you listen to the radio, they don't play different versions of the same song. They play the exact same song. If you get an opera from the 1700s, the exact same words. But Neanderthals predate human beings by about, I would say, 1.6 million years. So while they were here, they played instruments, and they were anthropologists who found instruments made out of bone flutes and the earliest drum. See, the genius of the African was to create a mobile drum, a piece of wood with an animal skin on top that could be moved to different locations, while the drum in Neanderthal society was usually the skin pulled over a stump that was then played, or the skin put over caves and walls that were banged with a certain pattern, or so some anthropologists think. I think that this brings up an incredible point, because human beings are the apex predator of our society. Not only did we wipe out any other animal species, right? Like if you see Joe Rogan, he's always talking about the short-faced bear, a 12-foot tall bear. One interesting thing about the short-faced bear is that its legs were so long that if you ran in a zigzag form, it would break its knee trying to follow you. They found that the people who studied these ancient, like prehistoric animals, realized that when the population became dwindled because they were so large they couldn't find prey, they became victim to the most ruthless creatures on the face of the earth, us. And I'll tell you how ruthless we are, brother. The only animals that are going to be left alive on this planet are the ones that don't taste good to us.
Hey, would you say human beings are a little bit like parasites, man? Because if we don't give nothing back, we just take.
I would say that the difference is, and this brings us back to what it is when we observe so-called Latino mentality versus an indigenous mentality. Indigenous people believe that not that the earth belongs to us, but rather that we belong to the earth, and that we have to live in symbiosis with it, and that this is not an unexhaustible resource. Right? You know how people say, "Oh, buy land," because they ain't making no more of it, right? This earth is not an exhaustible resource. There are finite resources that exist on this planet, and I think that's another part of politics that people don't understand. On this planet, we have different groups of individuals, large countries, but they're really just giant groups of people, and there's no real thing as a government. It's people that rule over other people and create a system to separate them. And we're in competition for natural resources, Gil. The oil wars happened earlier in this millennium, but now you and I both know that the water wars are about to start, my brother. And that's the part where we really got to get deep into that. The water wars are about to start, ladies and gentlemen. So gear up.
Hey, what I like is that you said it. You can have a conversation with somebody, have a difference of opinion with them. You know, you're still good. To me, do you feel any certain way about seeing my American flags up here, seeing the thing? In other words, I know the way you feel, but do you also have love for this country?
Do you feel a certain way about the upside down American? Do you feel a certain way about that? Do you feel a certain way about this?
I really don't. It doesn't bug me, but I know that means like what's it mean?
The country's in distress.
Distress. I was like,
yes. It's a message from Vietnam.
Yes.
So if you don't feel insulted by this,
I do.
I don't feel.
I do not.
I don't.
Yeah, but that's just the type of person I am. The type of person you are.
I'll tell you right now.
Hey, why don't you just give me that shirt? I'll give you an American shirt. How about that, player?
I got one in the car for you. We'll give this one away. I got one in the car for you.
All right, next caller gets a free shirt.
Oh shit, here we go. That's what it is. Next caller gets a free shirt. No, I think this country could be a lot more.
Caller.
What's going on, Gil?
Oh, this Art.
I hope you're a 2X.
That's right. It's Art.
What size shirt you wear, Art?
What do you mean?
We're trying to give you a free shirt, homeboy. What size shirt you wear?
I'm the American Solo.
Yo, you sound fat. Are you big? I got a 2X for you right now. Do you need a 3X?
I need a fucking 2XL.
2XL. There.
I got a 2XL. We got a 2XL for you, brother.
Get at me, Art.
We're gonna send it to you, man. All right. Next time you at In-N-Out, please remember to put a napkin over the shirt so you don't get it dirty. All right.
That's right.
I always do.
My brother.
What's up, Bart? Talk to us, man.
Hey, yo, Tech, man. Hey, listen, man. I'm a fucking. I love your music.
Love you too, brother.
All your songs.
Thank you, sir.
And I just wanted to share something. I almost died in a car accident. this
Oh,
this
shit.
song, and I'll tell you the lyrics. You better watch what the fuck flies out of your mouth. One of my hijacked things to fly it into your house. Bring your partner with your family tied to the couch and slit your throat so when you fucking scream on his blood comes out, bro.
Thank you, my brother. I love you, man.
Yeah, I'm dying.
He deserves that shirt.
125 miles an
I
hour
love you, brother. I love you. Got a free shirt for you. We glad you alive, brother. We glad you alive.
Hit me
I
up,
love
Bart.
you.
I got you.
Hell yeah.
All right, brother. Lee.
Much respect to all you guys.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Yeah, I think he deserves that one, man. What's up, boy? You got a question? Don't look at this guy's eyes, fool. You fall in love, brother. You fall in love. Ah, shit. So, I mean, we could talk here for hours, brother, but I want you to do your thing. What you got going on, man? You got any music going on this weekend? You performing anywhere?
Actually, you know, funny, I want to bring that up. My brother Chino Excel is about to do a show out here.
Where you at, Chino?
Where am I? Oxnard.
Okay, that's what's up.
Oxnard. But that's actually where my Theo's from. He's up there, so I got a
805.
lot of I got a lot of familia up and down the West Coast.
Who do they hold on? Who do they have? Did you guys have Tupac and Biggie beef back in the days?
Nah, come on. They had like salsa merengue beef. They had like 49er fucking Raider beef,
shit,
all right?
yeah,
49er Raider beef. That's what they had, yo. My cousins are all Raiders, and I'm in a 49er house. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing down here with the 49er flag? But they're like, no, it's our shit. So just letting you know, I want to promote this shit.
Yeah, for sure.
Nightmare Before Christmas, Friday, December 9th, Los Angeles. My brother Chino Excel, along with Conejo, Swifty
right.
Blue, Doughboy 909, Coyote, Trouble Kid, Misfit Soto, and Crazy Race.
That's right.
It's at Don Quixote 2811 East Olympic Boulevard, and it
I went there last year.
on Friday,
This place is
December 9th.
nice. Mm-hmm.
So shout to all the homies that are performing. Shout to my brother. Again, please come check us out on social media. Get at him at Chino Excel. You can get at me at Tech Immortal on all platforms. The only one that is different is on Twitter because Tech Immortal was taken. So
they got you?
I did Immortal Tech. Yo,
Tech Immortal was
not just they got me, bro. You know I had to sue for my own website?
Oh, no way. Somebody opened it up. And
Yo, no. I had it, and for whatever reason, it went off. And my lawyer hit me, and he was like, yo, bro, we just tried to get immortaltechnique.com, and some asshole wrote us back and said, you're not getting it for less than $15,000. So he's like, nah, fuck this. We're suing. We're going to court. So we sued, right? And these type of things are set up so that you have to show up. And my lawyer was like, you know what? I think it's somebody you know. Oh, shit. And I guarantee you they're not going to show up. So just come show up. Wow. Yo, motherfucker, I came out there dipped out looking like a pimp from the 70s. I was wearing the same suit that Spike Lee and fucking Denzel were wearing in the beginning of Malcolm X, walking like this down the fucking street on the way to the courthouse like, huh? Give me my fucking money, bitch. And those people never showed up. And now you can go to immortaltechnique.com.
That's what's
and
up.
you can get yourself a motherfucking Immortal Technique shirt, hoodie, all the materials,
All the
everything. Come see me, brother. That's it. And I just appreciate
the venue Chino Excel's gonna go to. That's the one we went to last year. It's a dope ass venue out there, dude. Very cool. We'll probably shoot out there again.
So I've been also working on I'm not gonna say too much, but people have been hiring me on the low to write stuff for TV shows, for movies and stuff like that. So I definitely, as a writer, I had a lot of success. Although I will say this, the bad thing about being a writer in terms of like just fixing scripts or touching up stuff is that with my music and with hip hop, no one can change anything. But if I make a bad joke or I put something in that's too much, like a British TV show hit me up for some shit and I wrote a bunch of jokes, and one of the jokes, they were arguing about the royal family, and I put in a joke that said, you know, if the fucking prince had worn a priest collar, then he wouldn't have half the problems he has. And they said that's just too much. It's not funny. That's just fucked up. That's sick. And I was like, no, it's just something that people have probably said 100 times and thought 100 times and been like, yo, look, you can take funny stuff and put it in a good way. But I think what the people have really loved for me is the short stories that I brought them. And they've actually tried to buy the rights off of it. Not just that, Gil, but I've had 2 companies now. One, I said no. The second one, I'm in a talk. I'm going to have a meeting this week because they want to take the rights to Dance with the Devil, and they would like to make like a short film or something out of it. But I also have been approached by a few other people for the rights to that, and I've always said,
really,
no. It has to be the right kind of shit. You know, someone have to come to me the right way.
You gotta feel comfortable with them.
And also on the filmmaking tip, I don't want to say too much, but big shout out to the big homie Ice-T. We working on a documentary, and we're gonna give you guys some of that later on. Me and my brother Chino were also in the Art of Rhyme shit. So big shout out to him, and definitely we appreciate the fact that we've been showed all this love. It's sad to me when I see, you know, people come out here and they end up in all kind of problems. That's never been my experience. I've never felt unwelcome anywhere that I've ever been. I've always been embraced in every neighborhood, whether it's Downey, whether it's Southgate, whether it's where all my familia lives in Inglewood. And you know why? Because you show people love when you come to where you come. I'm a New Yorker, so I know if people show up to New York and they show up nice and humble and they cool, then they get treated with love and respect by the people there. But if they go there and they act out, it's like anywhere in the world. And I'm going to remind people, LA and New York are not the most dangerous cities to live in. There are some small little places outside of central LA where you get your top popped really quickly, bro. Right? There are a lot of places outside in upstate New York, you get your top popped really quickly rather than the big city. So just remember that. You know, wherever you go to somebody else's house, it's always polite to wipe your feet and show respect to the people that live there, because you get to go home and they don't.
That's right.
So I always come here. I always show love. And also, I'm always open to do stuff with people. Like, big shout out to the homie Sick Jack. Big shout to Sleeps. They invited me to do this shit with Hood Santa, where we basically invited a bunch of different neighborhoods together to do this art collective. And that warmed my heart. The fact that you can go to different neighborhoods and petition and say, hey, brother, listen, this is not about set trip and this is not about nothing. We just want the kids to come in here and draw and get free haircuts and enjoy the music. And we got a free taco stand. We got everything here.
Bring the community together.
Right. We want people to have that sense so they don't automatically trip out. We even got the gang police to play the back and be all in, because they're going to show up regardless if there's an event. But I say, yo, play the backs so we can show people that we have love for each other. So, you know, Jack just came to New York. I showed him around all Harlem when I come out here. My brother Chino and the rest of the fam. Shout out to my man Demico, the ghoul of Southgate. That lives in the sewers.
The ghoul of Southgate, huh?
That lives in the sewers with knives and guns. That's my brother, yo. That's my brother, yo. Yo, what's crazy about him? He looks so mean. Big bald-headed motherfucker. But he could sing like a nightingale. People don't know about that. Everybody got a hidden talent, my brother. You see a mean-looking bald-headed dude walking around, essay like that, but then he get on the mic and he sound like, sometimes I give up my love, and that's where I find the best of us. Shout out to Demico, man. Yeah. So, you know, I go a lot of places in this city, you know what I mean? And listen, dude, I've been to Carson City and a fish spot where I'm the only brown face in the line. And somebody come up, they'd be like, hey, man, where you from? I'd be like, I'm from Harlem. And they'd be like, oh, really? Where? And I just start a conversation, bro. Hey, man, I don't approach nobody with no bullshit, man. That's right. And I think it's sad. You know, I've seen people, and lately, you know, God rest his soul to PMB and to other people that I've seen be victims of violence. Right. It's also sad that people were really in a rush to make his girlfriend suicidal by blaming her rather than waiting. Like, I know you and me, as adults, we know that we can have a knee-jerk reaction to something. But the important part is to give it a day or two until you get the story. Because now people are making her feel bad when they realize, oh, wait, it was a father and son, and they were scheming on homie from the moment he got there before they took a picture of any waffles, and you sitting here making her feel like it's her fault. It's not anybody's fault but the people that smoked him over nothing, bro.
Yes, absolutely.
And that shit hurts because, goddamn, bro, it's like you feel like these people are here to entertain people, and yet they're being put out here like they're a soldier. Bro, anybody who's been in the military knows, man, if you are in a war zone, you acting like this shit is a hot LZ in Vietnam. No, it's not, and it shouldn't be.
Shouldn't be.
And I think that's the part where we're trying to get back to. I think being a formerly incarcerated youth, I also taught in a prison. I feel like there has to be way more outreach to the people.
You go talk to youths also,
Sure.
right?
Yeah. East Lake. I've been at the juvenile halls around here. I did a prison program, and I think what we did in the prison program was we had a program called Confronting Trauma Through Writing. So we would get the prison psychologists to read the story so that they wouldn't be admissible in court. It's a doctor-patient thing. But these are traumas that some of the children have lived. And you see things that you wouldn't even imagine, right? And there's stuff that makes it much more complicated, right? Like I'll tell you a story that someone else told me that's heartbreaking. There was a little child who was 10 years old, and he was arrested because they said he sexually molested his little brother, that he put a battery in the child's anus, right? This is a very hard story to tell. They bounced this kid around from a foster care to foster care like a child rapist. He raped another kid. He raped his own brother. Finally, he gets sent, to the type of child psychologist who's a friend of a friend. And this is how I heard this story. It's on the internet. You can find it. My friend actually knows this dude. And he found it and he said, okay, just talk to me. What happened? And after a painstaking amount of time, they found out that the 10-year-old kid had been raped by his stepfather. And the reason that he put a battery in his little brother is so that his stepfather couldn't do that to him.
Oh, wow.
That's how hard it is to deal with kids, man.
Yeah.
That's what these kids is going through. And it ain't easy, man. It hurts me sometimes when I come home from doing stuff like that. It hurts me when I come home from the prisons and I realize something, that we have to get these fake narratives out of our head. It's not the absence of the father, like they say, oh, the black fathers are missing. Oh, the Latino fathers are missing. Yo, you people don't know nothing about jail, bro. You don't know nothing about the hood, and you know nothing about prison. Shut the fuck up. Because if you go there, you realize that most of the kids don't have a mother or a father. They're being raised by the abuela. They're being raised by a distant member of the family. They're being raised by the streets, brother. Yeah. They got most of the kids I met in there got no family to go home to. And as a matter of fact, the kids in the New York program, you know this better than me, their bail is like $800. I could have bailed all those kids out by doing a fucking tour. But where would I house them? Where would I keep them? I'd have to become the parent guardian for 48 children. I can't do that. But it's sad when you see a kid's bail that's $800 and he don't even have a fucking home to go to. That's the shit that breaks me. That's the shit that makes me think, oh man, this system is so broken. And when I say this, and you think about how broken the system is, they find ways to rage farm people, right? Because they say, oh, look, these other people are getting all your money. They're getting all your money, right? But the reality is that the U.S. government got wild money. They print it. They don't even need to actually come up with it. So they got all this money and they say, oh, well, we were going to give you your money, but we gave it to somebody else, right? Like, look at the reparations argument and look at it very closely, because African-American people are not actually asking for reparations. What they're asking for is the other half of reparations. See, reparations were already paid to slave owners for the compensation of losing their property. So you compensated human traffickers. You compensated child rapists, because that's what slavery actually was. If the master wanted to have sex with his 5-year-old boy slave, that was not even looked down upon. You understand how sick this is? So they gave those people reparations, but they didn't give the people reparations that were actually owed it as a people. So that's why I'm pro-reparations. That's why I'm pro-history. That's why I'm pro having conversations about shit. But I think what's important, my brother, is exactly what you mentioned before. If people have a disagreement or have some issue, man, sit down at a table and work it out, brother. Absolutely. I'm not above that, my man. Like, hey, you know what? You know how many heads I turned that didn't even know that they were deported veterans? Like, I don't know if you were a veteran.
I know.
But I'm saying you knew about this shit. Yes. But there are lots of my friends that came from a quasi-libertarian conservative background, and they had no idea this was going. They said, how could you do that? What do you mean? The guy fought I'll show you a guy. I introduced him. My friend Carlos Luna, shout to him. The deported vets actually came to one of my shows in Chicago, and they gave a presentation on screen about what they were doing, about the homies that had been involved, the people that had fought 3-4 tours. Motherfuckers is missing fingers, fucking missing a goddamn eye. You've been shot 3 times. You bled for this country. And meanwhile, here comes a useless motherfucker that says you shouldn't be here, and your only accomplishment for being part of America is falling out of a wretched hole in a flyover state. Don't you ever fuck with me and my people, bro. We were here. We gonna be here long after you've given up on America, right? Because I guarantee you, if this country go to shit, you're gonna find a lot of people running the fuck out of there, showing up somewhere in Latin America. Like, hey, everybody, what's up, bro? Sorry America collapsed, but I gotta go somewhere, man. Can I fucking live here? Thanks, Javi. Nah, you're not coming in. Eh? We gonna play the same game y'all was playing. Only difference is we were actually here first, and you invented that shit in your fucking head. Here we go.
So, I want to thank you for coming through.
He's like, get this nigga out of here.
No.
Get him out of here. He's a maniac.
I love it, brother. I love the energy. I love the message. You know, we may not agree on everything. Like I said, we can still have that conversation, right? You came to our podcast. Mm-hmm. Why did you say yes?
I like the way you get, like I told you before we were off camera, I like the way you give them both their due, right? I feel like the Democrats pay us lip service, but they don't actually do what they're supposed to do. And in terms of Republicans, they play those nice values, but now, ever since the Trump era, their unmasking has come. Now they're talking about our people's birth rates and the browning of America being the end of America. No, the end of America came in 1492 when a bunch of people showed up and started stealing people's kids, bro. That was the end of the Americas as we know it. Also, we have to really be honest with ourselves. What is the progression of warfare in Europe as it relates to chemical and biological warfare? During the era of the bubonic plague, right, which is up to the 1300s, right before the 1400s, right? People knew what biological warfare was. They would take rotten bodies and they would catapult them into cities in Europe. They knew that you can't just say, oh, these Indians got sick, right? You were giving people blankets. You were walking people and displacing them from one place to another, walking thousands of miles with no shoes. You wanted the elements to kill them. So whenever people talk about like white replacement theory, how about we have a discussion about indigenous replacement practice before we have a conversation about white replacement theories? Because y'all are fighting imaginary communism while the reality has been fucking you up your ass for the past 400 years. And I think that when we come to the things that we believe in, brother, I believe you and me, Gil, agree about way more things than the tiny nuances that we may have things about. And even those, I believe, are things that we probably have a similar view. But I think as long as someone wants the best for our people, I'm willing to listen to their view. Some people think, oh no, you know what? We need more God in the family. We need more God in the schools. We need godly stuff. And I say the problem with combining church and state is not the common American belief that it will be the church that corrupts the state. No, I want to quote the great Pope Gelasius, and in 492, not 1492, 492, he wrote a bull called the Duo Sant, which is in Latin, it means the two powers, the powers of the princes and the powers of the bishops. And in this magnificent document, he said, you must never combine church and state, not because it'll corrupt the state, but it will corrupt the people using the word of God. In other words, it's no longer the Iraq war, Gil. It's now God's war. It's not the war in Afghanistan. No, Jesus wants us to kill these people and do this, which is interesting because it brings up, I'm going to bring up something that's not really related, but related in the same way. Those protests that are happening in Iran, where the woman was killed for wearing the hijab, for not wearing the hijab properly. There's actually a huge debate about that in the revolutionary Islamic system. When the revolution happened in 1979, there was something set up called the IRC, which predates that Guardian Patrol Police that killed her. Though that system was established in 2006. In 1979, they had that system set up. And what's crazy is that half the Islamic scholars in Iran disagreed with setting that system up, because they said you're forcing people to commit violence, which is un-Islamic, to enforce Islamic law. You're forcing people to commit haram against their own people, to violently enforce something that people should be brought to openly with open arms if they're ready to receive the blessing of, if they're ready to commit to wearing hijab. It doesn't force that upon people. And I think that's the premise of it. Look, democracy is like sex. If it's natural, lovely. But when you force it on people, it becomes ugly.
And that's it, baby. Man, oh boy, don't you go nowhere, Chino. We're going to take a picture right now, carnal. Hey, so.
Thank you very much for everybody that come through. Thank you, Gil, for having me.
Oh, man,
Thank
our pleasure, brother.
All the brown, black, white people that are watching this show, listen, I love y'all. Y'all already heard me. I'm open to having conversations with anybody out there that just wants to see the best for their people, the best for mine. And even the people that may not agree with me 100%, man, I'm always here to keep an open door. I love y'all. I appreciate for you giving me the opportunity to come on the show. And man, I would love to come back one day.
For sure.
You know what I mean? We'll give away some more stuff.
I want to get that guy on the show too, huh, boy?
Oh shit!
All right,
y'all not ready.
All right, guys. Thank you for tapping in. Everybody, Boo, you're sleeping in the garage today. And we'll catch you guys in a few days, man. There we go. That was dope.
Hit me up.